We should be live. So
Yeah, that was kind of yeah.
we'll chill a bit before we get into any big topics and wait for people to join or whatnot.
Yeah.
But man, there's so much to talk about with this movie.
Yeah, they're
both good and bad, honestly. But
I'm of the same sentiment. It's far from
mhm.
perfect, but gosh, this is a Christmas miracle. That's
Yeah,
that's how I would say. Oh my gosh.
yeah. I think it was a great way to close out the year too.
Yeah.
So maybe, hey, what's up, AV?
AV. What's up, Blue Blurb? We're gonna talk about our thoughts, um, spoiler talk about Sonic Movie 3. We just went live, so we're gonna wait for like maybe a couple more minutes, 3 more minutes, and then we'll have a conversation. And you guys are welcome to join in and chime in, and we'll try to answer your questions as well, and put up
Why
your
don't
thoughts on the screen.
why don't we give our initial reaction spoiler free, just kind of what we were thinking when we left the theater while we're waiting?
Okay.
If that sounds good to you. We
Yeah, we
could
can.
wait if you want.
No, we can start with that. Hey, Merry
Merry
Christmas,
early
guys.
Christmas.
Okay. Um, I'll start.
Okay.
So, coming from the theater, I was just, I would say, I mean, it's fitting that it's Christmas. Like, I felt like a sense of gratitude
Yeah.
that this film exists, and that, if you just think about the Sonic franchise as a whole, it's a miracle that we've gotten to this point. Because initially, people thought, oh my gosh, with that initial trailer with Gangster's Paradise and the ugly Sonic model, people thought this movie's dead in the water. But Jeff Fowler and the rest of the studio, they really took ownership and listened to the fans and redesigned. I keep repeating this. We've been repeating this. I've never encountered anything like a major studio doing something similar where they would delay the film, spend millions of dollars to redesign the main character of the movie. Just the amounts, not only of actual work, but the legalities associated with doing that and the money you have to expend to do that. It's already such a risk. Putting any movie out is a risk. That's why there's people put such a stake in the box office numbers, because they want to return an investment. So for them to, in the first Sonic movie, for them to take the time to delay the movie to redesign the character shows that the people really care about the fans of this property. And I can feel that in each entry of the film. And with each entry, I feel like Jeff Fowler and the writing team, they kind of have a better sense of what their strengths are when it comes to making a Sonic movie. And I feel like with each movie, it just gets better. So with the third one, I feel like this is the best Sonic movie so far. Is it perfect? No, I have my own thoughts regarding how I would change it up a bit. And I only watched this 2 days ago, so maybe I'll change my mind. So yeah, I mean, I would just say gratitude. Wow, they really delivered a movie that is, I would say, a love letter to SA2, Sonic as a whole, and to the fans. It truly is a Christmas miracle and gift. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I think it was a fun way to end out the year, and go into the holiday season of Christmas and New Year. Yeah, I just left with a smile, honestly, coming out of the theater. I don't know if it's my favorite Sonic movie. I really enjoy Sonic 2, but I think this movie does a lot of things right, and it addressed a lot of problems that fans had with 2 and 1, honestly. So, do you wanna start getting into the meat and potatoes of everything?
Yeah. Okay, by the way, guys, I just want to let you all know, if you're joining, I mean, I'm sure you know, but we're going to talk about spoilers.
Spoilers. Yeah.
So,
So, if you
you
haven't seen, and you don't want it spoiled, you might want to dip.
Yeah. So
Because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. Because this movie, it's definitely something you want to see and experience first before hearing anything about it.
I'm of the same of opinion as you, where like I spoke to my because I watched this with my brother when it premiered, and I I was debating like, do I like the second movie more or this movie? And I have to rewatch the second movie to like form a better opinion, and I need to like rewatch this movie and give it
Yeah.
time, because there is such a thing as recency bias where you could be too critical of something or too favorable of a film or show or piece of music. Like, oh, I hate that. Then given enough time, you're like, I now that
It
I have
grows
time to
on
think
you.
about it, yeah, it grows on you. Like this is kind of a rabbit trail, but I watched Boy and the Heron. It's a beautiful film. It won the Oscar for this year, best animated picture over Spider-Verse. And I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I agree. Like Boy and the Heron should win best picture of the year. And I only watched it recently, and it took a while for me, not that I didn't dislike it, but I appreciated it more as time has passed after watching Boy and the Heron. Like, wow, this is such a deep movie, and it's so beautiful. Um, and I just wonder if I'll have the same feeling towards Sonic Movie 3, because one of the main issues I have, if we want to, I've been praising it, and I think it deserves due praise. I can tell like
Yeah.
the amount of effort and work. Making anything is really difficult, guys. Making anything, like YouTube videos are difficult. Now imagine a movie with all these moving parts that you have that have to
It's
work
complex.
together to form this moving picture. So I always, I don't want to just bash the creators, because
Yeah, and I think just because you enjoy something doesn't mean that you can't be critical of it, right? So I think you know, I mean, we wouldn't even have this movie if fans weren't critical of the first trailer that we got.
exactly,
So
yes.
that doesn't mean that we're gonna voice some criticisms, but that doesn't mean that we didn't enjoy the film. Because I'll just say it right now, I really enjoyed this film.
I mean, I will say I'm not bored. Yeah, like that's the thing. That's
Yeah,
the worst thing.
yeah,
Like going to a Sonic movie and being bored of it. That's pretty sad. But no, this was a wild ride. And one of the main things. Oh, I'm currently in the theater waiting for the second post credit scene. Dude, that's intense. Okay, I guess we'll save post credit scene thoughts towards the end of this stream.
yeah.
Um, but okay, initially, one thing that really I didn't really like. I thought the pacing was like way
Mm,
too fast. You
yeah,
said the same thing. Like when I would texted you saying, "Oh, I just came back from the movie," and I think you said, "Yeah, I liked it, but the first one was kind of like the first act of this film was like it just goes." And
yeah.
I think it's them trying to correct the mistake of the second film, where with the wedding subplot, it felt like it dragged on and it didn't really
Hmm.
serve the purpose of the main plot of the second film. But with the third one, I think they're trying to correct it. Like, okay, we're gonna minimize the role of these human characters and elevate the roles of the, you know, animated characters. Um, and we're just gonna get right into the action, which is fine. But especially the first act, like I feel like they kind of rushed like building the stakes, setting up
Yeah.
the main threat and the what Sonic and the rest of the gang is trying to tackle with Shadow and Gun. They just kind of whiz by it. It's funny, like so in the early in the movie, they visit the Chow Garden restaurant in Tokyo to discuss like how to confront Shadow as a threat, and uh I thought it was funny, like when just the juxtaposition of Commander Olive Garden arriving at that scene, and my brother. I'm telling you guys, my again, I love the humor of the Sonic films. My brother and I were laughing out loud when Commander Olive Garden showed up, because it's just like this Chow Garden, all these kids are having fun, and this old military guy shows up. And he's like, "Sonic, I need to tell you something." I'm like, "What?" It's so weird. It was just the timing and the contrast of that scene. It made me laugh. But I'm getting somewhere. I promise, guys. So it feels like when he talked about who Shadow is and his backstory, I thought that was kind of lazy. I'm just like, that was way too quick. I would much prefer if they trickle in his backstory throughout the film without revealing everything at the beginning. Uh, Again, I might have to rethink about it if I when I rewatch the movie. But that's one thing I'd have. Like the first act was way too fast. You went from like Sonic celebrating his birthday, and then they're in Tokyo, and then Commander Olive Garden shows up and tells you Shadow's backstory. And I just thought it'd be cool to have a sense of mystery, especially for people who aren't familiar with who Shadow is. Like, just answer it slowly. I would
Yeah.
say. I
This
thought the way you could go. Yeah.
this movie does a lot of things, and it does it really fast. Like something we talked about was how long is this team up between Robotnik and Sonic and his friends
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
last?
yeah, yeah.
And it was like that. Like it was, and that's where we get the mystery too, because they're investigating Gerald's old lab, that gun facility, and it goes by so fast. And I kind of wished it was built on a bit more, like you said. We start off and we're in Green Hills, Montana, and then the next scene we're in Tokyo. The next scene after that, we're like in London, and we're back in Montana. I mean, it's just going all over the place so fast that it doesn't let you really take a moment to breathe and like consume things and think about things,
Yeah.
which for me was a bit of a detriment. But that's not to say that I wasn't entertained, because I had a fun time watching. It was like action, like constantly action, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fun. But
And
I think it kind of hurt the emotional scenes a little bit by being too much action. Like when Tom gets hit later on,
yeah, that was
that's
crazy.
like a big emotional scene, because you're like, is he gonna be okay? Is he dead? And I think having more of an interaction between Tom and Sonic at the beginning with the birthday would have been nice to like really
Yes.
build that emotional
You
feel.
could really feel the impact of that. But
Yeah.
I not to say I didn't like that scene, because I was like, oh my gosh, are they really gonna kill
Yeah.
Tom in this movie? Oh my gosh. And we get the answer of why Sonic was so mad in London. Because we were wondering, like,
Yeah.
what made him
What made him mad?
like I haven't seen Sonic that mad, like even in, I guess kind of in the second movie, but even then, like Sonic was mad. Um, and I will say, like, I love Sonic's character in this film. Uh, we're just kind of bouncing around, but yeah, I agree. Like, we'll get back to that, but yeah, I think the pacing was a big issue, and I don't know if you caught on to this, but one thing I also didn't like, my brother and my friend M14 Gaming, we watched it together. They didn't catch on to it, but when Sonic and the gang they find Eggman in his crab hideout, he's just been a guy just like munching on potato chips and watching soap operas, just being lazy. He kind of sounds like me, but like in a way where so if you notice in the soap opera, it foreshadows what's gonna happen to him. Did you uh see that,
I
or
didn't
did
really
you
catch that.
you
No.
didn't catch it? I felt like
What happened to Shadow, or what happened to someone else?
oh sorry, so like it foreshadows what happens to
Robotnik?
Eggman and Dr. Gerald's falling out. Because if you remember
Okay.
in the soap
Yeah.
opera, like it's all about these twin brothers and they love the same person,
Mhm.
and the twin brother has been having an affair with the girlfriend of the other brother, Juan or whatever. And then so these brothers are like, you can't trust family or something like that. I'm like,
Ah,
uh,
yeah.
okay, well, I guess it works because people didn't recognize it, but I'm like, that's a little too on the nose. What I would have done, I was talking to my brother about, is like maybe in the soap opera scene they could have bits of pieces of dialogue and just show it without actually
Yeah.
saying it. That's just me. But again, with my criticisms, I have to say, like, I have to remind myself that this is a kids movie.
Hmm.
Like it's gonna be cheesy, and I like cheesy stuff. I love cheesy humor. It's gonna be, kind of more explicit with the kind of messages they're trying to convey to the audiences. But I think, as we've seen, like so much of children's entertainment can still be done in a more nuanced way.
Yeah.
And speaking of kids entertainment, I was actually kind of surprised by the amount of cursing in this film.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is PG, right? This isn't PG-13. I was like, okay, Eggman's been saying these
Yeah,
words,
Eggman was letting it fly, dude. I was really surprised by that.
but yeah,
Yeah,
this
I
movie.
think
Yeah, you go ahead, you go.
I was just gonna say that, like, I think as Sonic fans, we don't necessarily need this movie to be perfect. I think what we want is it to capture the essence of what Sonic is and the heart of that. And I think that this movie delivers on that, which is why people are really loving it.
No, yeah, yeah. I think when it comes to the spirit and the love and care for this world and these characters, they did an excellent job. Uh, and I will say, like we mentioned this before, where I mean, one of the greatest strengths of this movie is really the action. Oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
especially towards the third act, and even the initial
Oh,
um Shibuya chase scene, Shibuya fight, like graphically with shadow and the rain and like walking through the city lights, it looks so good. And the choreography between when these characters fight each other, I know in Fidel's review it felt like an anime, and I definitely see a lot of anime influence with these
yes.
action sequences.
Speaking of Fidel's review, I wanted to touch on this because I think you mentioned that he said this was like the best interpretation of Shadow that we've seen, or maybe that was Speed Supersonic. But people have been throwing that around, and I've got to say I just disagree with that. I really like
Continue.
I liked Shadow Generations a lot more. I thought that was a much better interpretation, but this one was fine. I just didn't think it was all it was hyped up to be when we were initially hearing that.
No, I agree. I think, in maybe I'm wrong in this, but my brother and I kind of had the same feeling where I it kind of feels like we needed more shadow,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know, like
His backstory segments were very short, and same with
yes,
Maria's stuff. It's like we hardly got any of Maria, which was kind of weird. And
yeah,
I think
yeah,
the movie would have benefited from showing a lot more of that. Like, you still grasp the idea that he lost his best friend, the only person that really cared about him, but it wasn't like really fleshed out, I guess.
yeah. That's what I would say. It's like I wish we spent more time with Shadow and Maria, uh, seeing their backstory as opposed to just Commander Olive Gordon, like just given his whole spiel near the beginning. I just thought, like, I mean, I guess because Commander Olive Garden was in the beginning of Shadow's inception, where
Which that
they
was
were
kind of cool to see. I
yeah,
really kind of liked seeing him there in the past and getting his flashback.
yeah. I guess he's like their version of, what is it, Abraham Tower? That's the name.
Kind of, but he was a
Kind of.
bit older because he would have, if he was actually Abraham Towers, he would have been around the same age of Maria.
Oh yeah.
But he was actually like in the military at this time, and we see that he's kind of like the only person that was refusing the order to take out Maria and Gerald and Shadow, which was kind of neat.
Yeah, and I guess we can, since we're already talking about him, I guess your prediction came true, right? Where,
Yeah,
so, okay, I have a question. Is he really dead? Because with when in Tom's scene, like he pretended to be Commander
to be
Olive
him, and he
Garden.
was like, "Oh, you thought I was dead," and I wasn't. I think he is dead. I think
Okay,
he's done.
yeah.
Um, because I think, and another thing that I remember you saying Fidel said was that Kristen Ritter didn't really do much.
I
I would
disagree.
disagree with that.
Yeah, I was like, dude, Kristen Ritter played a crucial role in this story.
Yeah. And you can kind of see where I think they set this up brilliantly, where because of how he cared about Shadow and Maria, and you can see why he was kind of nicer towards Sonic at the end of movie 2, Commander Olive Garden.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So like, because he kind of had that connection, he was like, "Oh, this is another like hedgehog creature that's kind of nice." So he's their friends. But Kristen Ritter was completely like just calling them aliens. She clearly didn't like them. She was like pushing Sonic around when he was stuck in that gravity device, and she didn't care about Commander Walters when he died. She didn't check if he was alive or anything. The first thing she checked for was the key code, which it's important, but like she had no empathy towards Walters. So you can see she might not necessarily be evil, but she's kind of like a darker gun commander, and I think she's taking his place now that he's dead, setting up Gun to maybe be more of an evil entity in the future.
Oh yeah, I think that's great. You know, I'm sure because the actor's older, he probably wants to
Yeah,
retire. Kristen Ritter's a pretty well known actress, so yeah, I like that. I mean, we kind of predicted it too, where Gunn will be a an organization that Sonic will have to contend with, and he's not just working for the military, you know. And I like
yeah,
that. I actually like how overall it's kind of like moral, like they do explore a bit more of morally gray areas with this movie, with
yeah.
Sonic, with Gun, with Shadow, and you know, and the importance of choice. That was like the main theme of the film, where
Yep.
like it doesn't matter what's happened to you in the past or what you're born with, like you always have the choice to do what's right. And I like how they explored that. I like what I said earlier. I love like Sonic's portrayal in this film because he's flawed. I'm like, wow, they actually made Sonic not
Yeah.
this goody two shoes, always does what's right. Like when Tom, we thought he was like dead or close to death. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, Sonic wanted vengeance,
Revenge. Yeah.
just like Shadow, and Shadow is quite literally the mirror image, the shadow of Sonic, and as much as Shadow learns from Sonic, Sonic learns from Shadow. He's
Yeah.
like, you're doing exactly the same thing as me. You know, it's like so that makes their dynamic so much more interesting in the film. And I like how I mean Knuckles got to shine too, right? So
Oh,
if
so
you if
good in this movie.
yeah, if you guys, I mean, I'm sure most of you watching this stream have already finished the movie. I hope, but when when Tom was in the hospital, uh, due to Shadow punching him, really dealing a serious injury to Tom. Sonic wanted the Master Emerald for himself so he can turn into Super Sonic and fly to the what did they call it in this one? It's the
Was it just
moon.
the Eclipse Cannon, or did
The
they have a
Eclipse
different
Cannon. Yes,
name?
yes, yes. Eclipse
Yeah.
Cannon. Yeah, he wanted to fly to the Eclipse Cannon to uh, get revenge against Dr. Gerald, Eggman, and Shadow. But they made a truce, right, between Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic. Like, only Knuckles knows where the emerald is. Like, no one else except his partner, of course.
Dude,
But
I love how that tied into the Knuckles show so much. I'm just
yeah,
gonna say that. I love that. That cracked me up.
yeah, I'm like, I know who this guardian is. I know who he's talking about. But I like that. It's like, oh, this adds some conflict, and it strengthens Knuckles' character. It makes him more unique. Like, oh, he takes his job seriously. Where he's
Yeah,
like,
that tension was actually like really well delivered. I could feel it just sitting there. I'm like, they're gonna throw down. Like them like seeing them slowly power up, like there was no way Sonic was backing down from getting what he wanted. But yeah, I love that scene so much.
yeah, I mean, I think I like it because it 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 helps characterize the characters more. Like uh, you see Knuckles and Sonic butting heads a lot, and Tails is the mediator. Like, okay, guys, let's just
Yeah.
chill out, let's figure it out. And I mean, one of the main themes of the movie is working together as a team and understanding that you can't do everything on your own. That you have your own weaknesses and strengths, and by working together, you can accomplish your goal. Um, but yeah, that what really stood out to me was when after Tom got injured, like that conflict between Sonic and Knuckles that really resonated with me. Like, oh, this is good. This is what I want.
Yeah.
I want some struggle. I want them to like, because it's growing pains. They're trying to figure out like how does this dynamic work, and I mean, and also like yeah, like Sonic has selfish reasons for pursuing the bad guys, but at the same time, like you can't really blame him. He's
Yeah.
like, they didn't just hurt Tom. They're gonna literally destroy the world. So you gotta let me know. And Knuckles is doing his job because he recognizes with Sonic, like, oh, you're kind of hot headed right now. I don't think you're capable of holding this power. So yeah.
Right. And I mean, if it wasn't for his friends, Sonic would have failed in the end. They really come in big later and save him.
Oh yeah, that
But
was crazy.
yeah,
Oh my
man,
gosh.
that tension though that Knuckles had with Sonic really reminded me of like Civil War when
Yes,
Iron
with
Man finds out that the Winter Soldier, even though he was brainwashed, is responsible for his parents' death. And Captain America is kind of like Knuckles, where he's like, all right, we need to kind of be calm about this and really let the information sink in before making a irrational decision. And I just loved it so much because it was the same thing where I was like, in that movie, I knew that, neither Iron Man or Captain America were gonna die. But in the same way, I didn't know if Sonic and Knuckles were gonna like end up fighting each other again, even though like that wouldn't really make sense for them to be enemies at this point in time. So they did a great job with the tension.
yeah, I mean, it's just again, I like that it's like what Ben Schwartz says where with each movie it kind of gets more mature as the audience grows with it. Um and I'm just really happy that like they didn't make uh Sonic a Gary Stew. I think that's the term, like, oh,
Yeah,
he always does what's right. He always makes the right decision. Like, no, like Sonic, it could have been bad, dude. And even
yeah,
when your own villain teaches you something, like, oh, you're kind of unhinged right now. I thought that was a powerful storytelling device.
it was. Yeah, and like you said, the lesson of choices matter, and you can always make the right choice. I thought that was pretty powerful, and that was just a really good message. And once again, it's something that Tom delivers to Sonic. So I think that Tom's a really important part of this franchise, despite some people not liking the humans of this movie universe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like compared to the second film, especially, they really uh lowered the like the import. I don't know what the right word is. Like not importance, but just I guess the screen time
Screen time.
for these human characters. Because one of my friends that I met up with recently, he wanted to watch a third movie, but he hasn't watched the first two, so he binged both. And he says I didn't really like the first one, and I like the second one way more because he thought the first one it felt like too generic. It didn't feel
Yeah, it is
Sonic
very
enough.
generic.
Like it could have been any animated character with this person, you know.
Hmm.
With But the second movie, they really solidified themselves more as a Sonic film. Like this is a clear, like they have a clear identity. With third one, there's no doubt about it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a Sonic movie. This is you can't put Mario in here or Mega Man. Like, no, this is a Sonic film, which I appreciate. Like they're getting more
Yes.
comfortable with this identity, and it's doing well in the box office. I think like
Yeah, really
they have this
well.
formula. Like if you guys haven't seen, it's like outperforming Mufasa. Like it's making double what Mufasa's making, something like that.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think near doubling what Mufasa's doing. So for the pacing, we both kind of said this at the beginning. It moves a little too fast, but it doesn't like necessarily ruin the movie or anything. It's just a bit fast at times.
Yeah,
But like you were saying on the human characters, Randall and Rachel aren't even in this movie technically.
yeah,
Like
I was
they
surprised.
appear, but they don't, if that makes sense. I was not expecting them to be like hologram disguises or whatever technology Tails invented to make your face and body swap.
Yeah.
That was kind of surprising, but it worked. And it was a way to, I guess, keep the characters in there without making them a big part of the movie.
So with Randall and Rachel, does that mean like they both work for Gunn? That's why they let him in, I guess.
Uh, I guess. Yeah, she must because she had a uniform still. But didn't she say something like I'm here to bring my husband lunch or something like that?
I don't know. But I just thought like, okay, if they're letting Rachel in, I guess she works for Gunn now, or
Yeah.
connection with Randall. I don't know.
That scene in general just leaves a whole bunch of questions because there's no way she should have been let in. They're like, yeah, we're locking down now, and then she's like, I'm gonna get your supervisor, and I think he's gonna be a bit more mad that he let someone in when he shouldn't.
Oh yeah. I mean, also maybe it might be just a bit of a gag, part of
Yeah, it
the
definitely was,
part of
but
the comedy.
yeah. Also,
I
I want to bring up, I mentioned that I feel like Shadow is kind of like power creeped in this movie, and he definitely is.
oh yeah.
So they give Shadow a feat that I think only Knuckles has achieved before, where he in his base form knocks Supersonic out of Supersonic.
Yeah, he just punched him, right? Like just like
Yeah, he just knocked it completely out. That's something that Knuckles did in Sonic 3. He kind of like sneak attacks him in the beginning and like punches the emeralds out of
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sonic.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So they let him do that. And then something that kind of bothered me, it doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it was just like, oh man, it was bothering me in the back of my head. At the end, when they're blocking the laser beam, Sonic, he like loses his super form. He couldn't hold it any longer, and he like kind of just like, falls out. That happens to Shadow.
Yeah.
That's how Shadow goes down. Sonic's able to like keep holding the beam. So I did not like that they switched that. I'm like, why are they nerfing Sonic so hard?
I don't know. I guess they're taking it more seriously. Like, yeah, this guy's the ultimate life form. Have they said ultimate life form in the movie? Did they say that?
I don't know if they did.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if they said ultimate life form in the film.
I'll have to keep my ear out for that when I rewatch it because I will be going back again to see it, but I can't remember if they did or not.
So, okay, speaking about like, I again like with any adaptation, I expect people to change a few things, and there's quite a few things they change in this film. So one major, I guess it's a slight change, and Fidel mentioned it in his review, but like uh how Maria passed away is a bit different in this film, where instead of getting shot directly by a gun soldier, there's a chemical that got shot, and then there was an explosion that killed Maria. So what are your thoughts on that transpiring as opposed to what originally happened?
Personally, it didn't make it worse for me. I didn't mind because the implication was that he was going to shoot them anyway, I think. But if I'm remembering right, Captain Walters like pushes the gun away, and that's when it
Oh
accidentally hits
yeah,
the
yeah.
hits the other thing. So the implication that they were just going to gun him down is there, which is good. Um, and they just kind of made it a bit more family friendly, I guess. So I
Yeah.
didn't mind it personally. What about you?
No, I didn't mind it either. I thought like it still carried the weight of it, of that passing.
Yeah,
And I will say like just as a side note, like I really appreciated the costume design of the flashbacks because it reminds you where like, oh, this is like in the 70s, so people kind of dress differently. Uh, there's the record player, and it's also interesting where it's not set in the space colony arc like in the original, but it's
yeah. It
set in,
was
like
just
some military base out in Arizona or something.
yeah,
It's
and
very
uh, yeah. I was gonna say even like Maria having roller skates as a kid, and then of course that translates to Shadow
oh,
wearing
you're
them
right. I
later.
didn't even
I
think
thought
about
that was
that. You're right.
good.
Yeah.
And even just talking now, it made me think um the whole theme of like the choices that we make, how important they are. I think that even reflects in Commander Walters being the only military personnel that was like, this isn't right. We're not just going to execute these people.
Oh, that's
You
true.
know, he made the choice to uh not do that against, his orders. Even he knew it wasn't right. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's like just a little taste of that theme.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about like more about the things they changed. I think you can put up the comment.
Shadow.
Yeah, so Anime Monarch, you could put up his comment about the meteor. Uh, because originally in Shadow's origin story, uh, he's like an experiment made with the DNA of Black Doom. But in this film, it seems like he's just like a straight up alien, like it fell from space on a meteor that looks like the Black Doom comet.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I was gonna say. I thought that was good because at least he was still like on a meteor that would have come from their comet.
yeah, and as opposed to just being a like something man made. So, what are your thoughts on that being his origin story for the movie?
I actually kind of like it. It's always kind of a weird thing when they're like, especially when they showed it in Shadow Dark Beginnings or whatever it's called, the fact that he took this like Black Doom larva
Yeah,
and just made it into a hedgehog. They don't really explain how or why he looks like a hedgehog, but they just say that Gerald chose it to make it look unsuspecting, I guess. So I I think that would have been kind of bizarre to all of a sudden introduce Black Doom and like that Gerald was like working on the secrets to immortality. They streamlined it and they made it digestible for audiences that maybe aren't super deep into Sonic lore. I think it works perfectly.
yeah, I agree. I mean, you already know, like, Shadow's origin story is so convoluted, and Sega flip flops between what's canon and not canon, and sometimes they add extra details where it doesn't make any sense, but you just kind of roll with it. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with this creative choice. One thing I wish they implemented more in Shadow's backstory, I wish Maria was sick.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like she wasn't, was she? She was
Yeah,
just
she's just like a
his
happy.
granddaughter that he brings around.
Yeah, and I guess that's fine, but I feel like you lose uh
Shadow's purpose.
yeah, like purpose
He's
and
her cure.
yeah, like there you that's a really important aspect of their relationship where Shadow is meant to cure Maria. Um and I hope like even if he was an alien, they would study him to see like, oh, we can derive something from his DNA to help cure diseases, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be more powerful if, Maria is this sickly girl, but yet she just loves life and having fun. And I think, the roller skating scene. What I thought, like, what would be even more impactful was if she was in a wheelchair and
Wheelchair.
Shadow pulls him. I'm like, wow, that
Man,
would be really cool. Like,
I
it
think you're
shows,
on the money with that idea.
yeah. Let me write it. Let me write it. But again, like, what I do appreciate about this version of Maria is like I think because with the especially in SA2, like she looks like old and she acts like an older person. But this version of Maria, like, oh, she's a kid. She likes having fun, and I like that juxtaposition between Shadow being so serious and then Maria just being this ball of energy and light. You know. And speaking
Yeah.
of light, oh man, I love his quote when they were stargazing. Shadow
Mm,
has some great lines in this movie, but
yeah.
he says like, "Even when a star is gone, the light remains." I'm like, dude, that was deep. I like that.
Yeah, and it made me think maybe we'll explore his homeworld or at least the Black Arms in the future because she was said something like, "I wonder what star you come from."
Oh yeah,
So,
you're right. You're right. I
and the
remember
fact
that.
that he's inherently alien in this one makes me think maybe we'll see something in the future. So, but yeah, I think you're on the money saying that it's just I think it's more powerful to have Maria be sick and find so much joy in life still because Shadow's a character who he doesn't see the good in humanity. He doesn't see the joy in life. For much of it, it just brings him sadness. So I think having a character like Maria who is going through something so devastating, and yet she's able to find the joy in life and the good in humanity and show that to Shadow, I think that's a lot more powerful.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's a detail I wish they kept. Like, oh man, like it would have been cool if Maria was still sick and they explored, Shadow being a potential cure for her.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm pretty sure they didn't go the sick direction, because they already established that Shadow was experimented on to be a weapon. But even then, in the original story, like it kind of flip flopped, like where originally he was going to be a weapon, and then originally he was going to be a cure, and then
Hmm.
God usurped that and said, no, we're going to make him a weapon, and that caused the whole debacle. And then Gerald went crazy, right? And then he's like, okay, he's a weapon now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they could have went the sick direction. And I think it would have been stronger from a story perspective. But then again, how much would they have even focused on that? Because like we said, this movie's moving a million miles per second. Like it was really fast paced. So and we barely got any of Maria, which that's a minor complaint. But
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
what did you think about Agent Stone in this movie?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I like the
I felt
actor.
bad for him.
I felt bad for him. I think he's just a fun addition.
He
And
is.
uh again, okay, guys, this is spoiler review. Again, presumably Eggman's dead for real, and he sacrificed his life, and he had that heart to heart with Stone.
Which
Um,
is something you called in our podcast.
yes,
You
yes,
said initially that you think that Eggman's gonna have a change of heart, and that got me thinking. I'm like, I think you're right. So you were pretty early on calling that Eggman would turn to the good side,
yeah, but again, I thought that because like I knew Jim Carrey wanted to retire from acting, but it seems like he's pretty open to making
doing
more
more
Sonic
stuff.
films. So again, there's no body, so that's the rule. If there's no body, and even if there's a body, they can always resurrect the guy. But
Right.
in this one, especially, like it's open to it's open for to him coming back anytime.
Yeah, I think they set it up perfectly where it's like if he's dead, it's a great ending for him. It's a great send off, and if he's not dead, then they have a perfect explanation by Shadow warped in there in super form and saved him.
Yeah,
So either way, I think it works. But we also never got an explanation of how he survived in Sonic 2.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know how he
Yeah, I
survived
really
it.
don't know.
Man,
But yeah, I liked Stone in this movie. I thought he had a cool entrance, taking out Gerald's
robots.
machines
Oh
that he
yeah,
stole from
it's like,
Eggman.
yeah, he was like John Wick with that motorcycle
Yeah,
shooting
and
down
then
the robots.
I kind of like also how he noticed that Shadow and Gerald aren't really up to what they say they are. They're playing Eggman, and he was pretty fast to catch on to that.
Yeah, and oh man, what'd you think of like the whole VR sequence of them spending
Dude, it
time
was
together?
hilarious. It was so funny. I I really liked the comedy in this movie this time around. Like almost everything hit for me. I was like, I had a grin on my face the whole time. That scene in particular was cracking me up, just seeing them like try to catch up as much as they can in such a short time, and especially Agent Stone carrying the cups in the background and like getting all sad that he's not hanging out with the doctor was funny. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show like their partnership, their relationship runs really deep, and it goes with the theme of how family extends beyond just blood relation, with Shadow and
Yeah.
Maria and Sonic and Tails, Knuckles, Tom, and Maddie. So, yeah.
And it gets pretty emotional too when Tails is talking to Stone about that, and he's like,
Oh
"Yeah,
yeah,
like kind of we're kind
yeah.
of friends, like how you and Robotnik are." And then he gets like kind of sad thinking about it. He's like, "He never really treated me as a friend like that." So it was kind of interesting that they had that dynamic play out with the two like sidekicks talking to each other.
Oh yeah, it was so cute. It's like I'm just gonna say it. You're adorable. I was like, oh, that's so true, man. Oh, when they first partnered, uh, like when they partnered Sonic and Eggman and Stone. I love that scene when they were exploring that base and Shadow's like a ghost
Oh
haunting
my
them.
gosh, that was so good.
That looks so good, man.
I turned to my girlfriend. I'm like, he's like Batman taking them out one by one.
Yeah, I mean, Shadow is gonna be Batman in the DC collaboration.
Yeah, man. I wish that team up lasted a little bit longer. I really, every time that Eggman and Sonic work together, you know that they don't want to, but they're forced to take on a bigger threat. And I love that dynamic so much. So I wish that the movie allowed itself for more time to let that like expand a bit or do more with
Yes.
it in a more interesting way instead of just going to the base. But you know, it worked for what it was. But I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of it.
Yeah, maybe like uh wait a bit more. Give him enough time for Eggman to meet his grandpa. It's like, okay, don't let him meet right away. Give it some more
Yeah.
time and like confronting Shadow and like, who's this guy stealing my tech? And then that's when you meet. And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna flip the switch. You know?
Which, speaking of his grandpa, dude, we have to talk about Gerald because how was that guy alive? He said he was
Yeah,
like 110 and they gave no explanation. Like, he was like, yeah, I've been locked up in a gun facility.
for
What?
real. Yeah, he's 110. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. It's like, so how how is this guy still alive? Like, is it from Shadow that he's alive? It's
Yeah, I think he was just old. I think he was just like old and made it past 100 and he was still trucking. I guess revenge was like motivating him to stay alive.
Yeah, so I forgot, like, how did he escape again?
So he made a deal with Gun to make them a super weapon, and he
Okay.
that's what we saw drawn out was the Eclipse Cannon.
Yeah.
And by him giving them the plans to the Eclipse Cannon, they allowed him his freedom,
Okay.
which
Okay. Okay.
I would have liked it better if Gerald maybe escaped. Because the weird thing was that he had Shadow's quill when they were arresting him. Remember, you kind of see him like with his hands behind his back, Gun arresting him, and he has a quill in his hands and he kind of hides it. So
Yeah.
it makes it seem like he would have used that to escape, but he doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was just like trying to remember, like, how did this guy even escape again? Oh, okay, he made a deal.
Yeah, they
And that
see, and I think that's a problem is that it tells, it doesn't show. Instead of show, don't tell. We
Yeah,
got a lot of like dialogue that could have been used as scenes show instead, you know. But that's again a little nitpick, but it would have been nice to have like seen him escape or something.
yeah, maybe in the beginning with Shadow escaping, at first you see a shadowy figure that is Gerald. Like, I don't know, he comes up with a contraption in his cell to finally escape, or like now is the time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Maybe all this time he's been trying to uh create the schematics for the Eclipse cannon, and he figured out where Shadow's been locked up. So that's when they both break out together. I think that'd
Hmm.
been cooler as opposed to just telling Eggman his backstory. Um,
I
Supersonic,
really. Oh, I'll let you read that.
Supersonic and Super Shadow fighting is really awesome and badass. No, oh my gosh, dude, that is one of my favorite moments in the movie when both of them turn super and they're just
Oh,
traveling the world in super form,
yes.
fighting each other. I'm like, I will say, like, that's some of the best action I've seen in any movie. Like any
Yeah.
movie. Like, I just thought, like, that is so cool.
It was really hype.
Very anime like, very much like Dragon Ball Z.
uh, I do think there will be a twist villain. We'll get into that a little bit later because I have a theory that I'll let you guys in on, but we'll talk about some other things first.
Oh, okay. I
But
want to just go.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask. So, what did you think of uh the performances overall, like the acting, the voice acting?
It was really good. I thought Jim Carrey killed it. This time especially. I don't know what it was. Like sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of his like slapstick, like very expressive humor, but it was cracking me up this time, especially like their whole dance scene in the
Yeah,
laser
my
grid
brother
room.
one. Yeah.
That one was cracking me up. I loved it. I thought Jim Carrey did a fantastic job. Um Sonic and his team, they all did great. Keanu felt wooden at times to me. I think it was still good, but I don't know. Like, I think Kirk Thornton delivered a more emotional performance as Shadow in Shadow Generations than Keanu did. I'm not gonna like say it was bad, but it just wasn't. It didn't feel as emotional to me as it could have been.
I think that's fair, and I think with Keanu, I think it's a common criticism for his acting, where he kind of plays the straight man. He's a very flat uh, way of speaking. But what I do appreciate with Keanu's voice is I was worried it would be too low, but I listened to an interview with him and he said like, okay, Sonic is this alto uh and Knuckles is this bass. So he's like, I'm like the tenor. I want to be in between that range. And I thought the tone of his voice was, I was like, okay, this is a decent like shadow voice. It's like, oh, it's not bad. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. I still think he did a good job. It just at times I don't think it was as emotional as maybe I wanted, but that's just a me nitpick.
No, that's
But
fair.
yeah, I thought the performances were great. Idris Elba, man, he's my favorite Knuckles of all time. His
I
every
agree.
scene with him is so good. He got the tension, like I said earlier, when he was facing down with Sonic, and then his comedy is so great when he's like, "Oh, time to like break the glass or whatever," and he goes flying in. I just love every scene with him.
No, I completely agree. Like movie Knuckles is my favorite version of
It's
Knuckles.
so good. It's so good.
And I love that mix of what is it like, that Drax kind of humor where
Yes,
he's just he takes things super literally, and
I
that's what
love
makes
it.
it funny. Um, but
I
again,
think
with that conflict with Sonic, it's he can switch it. He's no longer just this silly guy. Like he takes
yeah.
his role as guardian very seriously.
I think that's why I like him is like you said, he's very much a Drax character and that almost dry comedy of like not quite understanding things because you're taking it literally. I love it. It really clicks with me. But yeah, do you want to talk more about the big fight at the end?
Yes. Okay, so this movie had so many homages to SA2, which I very much appreciate as a Sonic fan and as a person who just loves Sonic Adventure 2. Like I know I will answer your question cuz like the final scene, especially with them, are you talking about the fight or when they stop the laser?
Um like the fight, the laser, like we can talk about that whole like super Sonic Super Shadow scene if you want.
Oh yeah, I mean that was just straight up Sonic, dude. Like
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it. Like, yo, this is straight up like a Sonic boss fight, and you're teaming up with Shadow to to stop the Eclipse Cannon. Uh, and it's very reminiscent of the final boss fight with the Bio Lizard and the Eclipse Cannon in SA2, and the Live and Learn
Oh,
remix.
perfection.
Yeah, like it it's on Spotify right now, the whole Sonic Movie 3 album, and I listened to that track and that was really cool. And they do similar poses too in SA2. Uh
Yeah.
with Sonic and Shadow posing together. And I also noticed that there was the gun drones uh that
Yes.
came out of the Eclipse cannon. It's similar to the gun robots you fight in SA2, and I'm like, dude, they really
They
know,
looked
like
awesome.
they really care, like they drew directly from the game, and I really appreciate that. And I just thought it was funny, like after you know this this tour of them just fighting each other across the globe. It's so serious, right? And the action was so good, like the choreography was so good, and Sonic learns his lesson about vengeance and how he could easily be Shadow, and Shadow could also be like Sonic if he makes the right choice. Um, I thought that was really cool. Like, and towards the end, where Sonic was about to kill Shadow, but when Shadow said, "Oh, hit me here," I thought that was really cool. Like, oh, it brings us back to the first moment with Tom and Sonic talking about,
Yeah.
listen to your heart and always make the right choice. What I will say, again, I know it's a kid show and that they're a bit more explicit with conveying the message or the moral of the story. I would have liked it more if the flashback scene with Sonic and Tom, it was like silent and they just show it. Like
Yeah.
they just show uh that scene without the dialogue, and then we compare that to Shadow pointing at his chest. And I thought that would, like, that's what I would do if I were to make it a bit more different. But I just like that they get a heart to heart, and Shadow, by Sonic remembering Tom, he chooses a path of forgiveness and a way to move forward where Shadow doesn't have to die. But also in that scene, Shadow remembers Maria. So there's Sonic remembering Tom, and then Shadow remembers Maria, and Maria's words where even when a star is gone, their light still shines. And I thought that was so profound and so beautiful, and like a very Shadow thing to say. And uh, like that is Maria. Like, despite her being gone, the light is still present in of her is still present in Shadow, and he can be a light to other people.
Yeah. That was beautiful, honestly.
And then
And
the
you go
juxtaposition,
ahead.
sorry, the juxtaposition between that and then like the scene after, you just see Gerald like spanking like Pac-Man's butt. I was like, okay, yeah, I was like caught off guard. Like, that's so funny.
I think that goes to Anime Monarch's point, taking the goofiness a little too far with that fight, which I agreed with that a little bit because the whole like I don't know what they were doing, like nanotech or something when they
Yeah,
became
yeah,
like the
yeah,
praying mantis and stuff. I was
yeah.
like, all right, this is getting a little too zany, but that's just me, I guess.
Oh, what'd you think of Gerald's death?
I liked it. It was so funny, but like also like, oh yeah, he just got like bug zapped, dude.
He's like a fly. He's gone, dude. Like, dude, when that happened, my whole row, like we had a row with my friends. We just laughed. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's so
he's dead,
good.
I guess. Man,
But I really love the scene of Sonic and Shadow on the moon, and they're sitting
yeah,
there, and Sonic standing up and reaching his hand down to him and saying like, we all have a choice to like be better, and that was just that's why I think for that crossover that Sonic should have been Superman. That's such a Superman thing to like talk to this guy that he harbored so much anger towards Shadow for what he did to Tom. Sonic at this point doesn't know if Tom's gonna be alive when he is done with all of this. And but to reach out to him and like kind of forgive him in his heart and understand where Shadow was coming from, but give him the choice to make the right choice, I thought was really powerful.
yeah. I think they did it really well. Where, man, just that simple scene of him pointing at his chest, I'm like, that's a good connection, man. That's very clever. I like that. Oh, you like the Gerald death scene, and they blew up the moon. They did. I was so happy. Oh my gosh, they did it.
That got everyone in my theater laughing how they did it, and I loved it. Like in the trailer, it made it like really serious, but the
Yeah,
way that they did it when they're like all turning it and they're like, "Whoa!" He kind of overshot it. That was like peak comedy for me.
Man, I wonder if they're gonna address it in future movies. Like, oh yeah, the moon's like cut in half, or a quarter of it is gone.
Not to get too far ahead of myself, but did you notice that when a certain character shows up at the end, the moon was still destroyed?
No, I mean, I was just so
Oh,
caught up by that character. I was like,
yeah.
wait, what? What happened? This is happening? I guess so.
When that character showed up, we'll talk about it a lot more here in a bit. But when she showed up in the background, if you look at the moon, it's still destroyed. So I hope they keep that continuity, and I love that they did that in that shot. I didn't notice it at first, but my girlfriend was like, "Did you see the moon?" I was like, "No," and I ran it back because people have been uploading it so much on TikTok. It's going like crazy right now. But yeah, it was destroyed. It was still cut in half, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's why I tried to avoid uh like Twitter and YouTube and clips even uh prior to the movie, because the movie was already so close, and I'm like, I don't want to ruin it. I want to be surprised. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
If you haven't seen the movie, well, I don't know why you'd be here, but don't go don't go on TikTok.
Yeah. So should we talk about the post-credit scenes? You think it's no,
Yeah,
no,
sure. Let's
wait,
do it.
okay, sorry. Before
Oh,
before we
dude,
do
you
that,
know what? We could. There's so much I feel like we could talk about. Anywhere you want to go, I'm down to talk
no,
about it.
I forgot. I have it in my notes. No, so I want to talk more about like the homages. We got the. I noticed a lot of the tracks, like explicitly from the game. Like they use
Yeah.
like a theme from the game and put it in this movie. Like with there's a flashback of Maria playing guitar, and it's Live and Learn on the guitar, I
Yep.
think. And then
Live and Learn was in it a lot. Like I think one of the early scenes of the movie, you hear like a guitar riff, and it's Live and Learn. So they did a lot of like instrumentals of it throughout.
and when Sonic Team saved the day in that cornfield, they were playing the same credit song as
Oh,
in SA2. And that's
I
one of
didn't
my
even
favorite
catch that
songs.
one.
That's one of my favorite songs ever. Like favorite video game soundtrack ever. The credit score at the end of SA2. They played something similar to that in the cornfield scene. So there's that. And I also have to say, like, it was like a perfect thing for Sonic to say when in the top of the helicopter, he's like talking about
Oh,
low budget
yes.
flights, no food or movies. We're out of here. I'm like, they did it, man. Oh my gosh, they did it. That's so cool. So
I'm
yeah, I mean, I appreciate the homages, like the direct influence of of SA2 into this movie.
Yeah, and their poses too that they did. Direct poses from the game. I must have annoyed my girlfriend so much because like every scene that was like that, I turned. I was like, "That's from the game." It's just like, but yeah, they did a lot of cool references throughout, and the one of the cool ones I think was Maria and Shadow were watching like a monster flick, and the monster was the Bio Lizard.
Yes, I
I
didn't
love
catch
that.
that until my friend mentioned it. Like, oh, that was the Bio Lizard. It's like, oh
Yeah,
wow.
I thought that was a cool way to like still include him, even though they weren't actually like making him part of the lore.
Or who knows? Maybe he is. We don't know.
Maybe he is. We'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Going
Eggman's
back a little
speech.
bit.
Oh, you go.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that.
No, because of the comment. Eggman's speech to Agent Stone was super tragic and sad, and a great send off for Eggman. So yeah, like it is a good send off for Eggman, where he gets the hero's ending, but it's still open enough to where there's no body, and second, there's still an open. There's no reconciliation yet between him and Stone. That's still open, and you can explore that in like an upcoming movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know this was the Bio Lizard at first. Uh,
One of the scenes that I wanted to talk about, going back to the supersonic scenes, was I thought it was so cool how they introduced supersonic to Gerald and Shadow. How they had no clue what Sonic was when he was speeding towards the Eclipse cannon, and they're like, "That's
yeah,
too
yeah.
fast to be a rocket." And, dude, Eggman's face kind of dropped. He's like, "Oh, I know what this is. I faced this before," and he was like terrified. That I thought that was a really cool way of like they're like, this is too fast to be a missile. What is it coming towards us? But Eggman knew instantly. and he just like the way he shot through and just took Shadow Dude was so cool. Like he was so
Yeah,
mad in that moment.
dude, I love how powerful these characters are in this film.
Yes.
I know like maybe you could kind of nerf them, but like when it comes to just being just fanning out, like nerding out and seeing how they were able to convey this raw power, these action scenes, they did it so well. Like you really sense how big of a threat Sonic can be when he's angry.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like just that sequence of him and Shadow fighting and with the ground dissolving under them and lava melting and then flying to different countries as they're punching each other. I just thought that was brilliant. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. This is so well done.
And I think that kind of gives some validity to Gunn's fear of these creatures and like why Captain Rockwell in particular doesn't like them. They have the opportunity to become so powerful if they choose. Like that unchecked power is kind of something that can be scary.
So, okay, here's a question. Like, I guess the way Shadow teleports is with his chaos energy.
Yeah.
He
Um
doesn't need an
I remember,
emerald.
yeah. Well, from what people told me, and I think this is true because I think I looked it up. Because before I said that he's using chaos control, and people are telling me it's chaos snap, his like short burst of like teleports that he can just kind of use. So, but if he wants to use chaos control, he needs an emerald to like channel it better.
Yeah, because I made a video on this. If I remember correctly, like you know, Shadow gets to a point where he can use chaos powers without an emerald in the
Hmm.
games. But again, it's a bit different in the movies. I do like the idea of Stone taking up the mantle, but I think he'll be a better Doctor if he does take up the Eggman mantle. I don't think he'll be a villain per se. Maybe he'll be done
You
with
think
that. Like
so?
I don't know.
Good. I I feel like he idolizes Eggman so much that he'd want to do what Eggman wanted and like take over the world for him. Like I think he's a nice guy, but like I think he is disillusioned or too caught up in his like idolization of Eggman to really think clearly.
That'd be interesting.
Okay. That comment there kind of
This-
part of my theory.
okay, I guess it's a good segue too. We could finally
Yeah, so we can talk
talk
about
about it.
the mid-credit scene. So I had theorized for a while that Metal Sonic would be showing up because of the quill. He does show up, but it doesn't seem like it's because of the quill that like we don't see Eggman do anything involving like setting up a backup plan to create Metal Sonic or not. So that was kind of weird. We don't know who made Metal Sonic. Could still be Eggman. Maybe he had a backup plan, but I don't know. I wasn't expecting to see so many of him.
Oh
That
yeah,
really
that
shocked
was
me.
crazy. Like an army, a swarm of Metal Sonic. That's insane.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, boy? Boy X. uh,
What did you think of like seeing Metal Sonic? Were you shocked or were you kind of expecting him to
no, I
show
was
up?
shocked because I remember I told you in the last stream where I initially thought it was gonna be a different set of characters based on what the tweet said. Because the tweet said something like, "Oh man, I just saw the mid-credit scene, and let's just say it's deadly." I'm like, "Okay, is it the Deadly Six?" But no, it was Metal Sonic, and yeah, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's him!" And he looks like he was stripped straight from the game in the comics.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they didn't do anything too different with his design. I'm like, "Oh, he looks just like in the games," and I did not expect like a whole army of them. So
Yeah,
it's
what's going on with
interesting
that army?
because like it's like I was gonna say like I don't know how he's gonna tackle that really. Well, I have an idea, but I think like movie 4, which they already confirmed for 2027, is it's gonna be a crazy story.
Yeah, I kind of I'll we'll talk about who appears next, and then I'll go into my theory because I have a I think some people kind of also have the same theory, but I'll go into it in a second. So we get a character that shows up in New York, I think they are, and she saves Sonic, and it's revealed to be Amy. I was
Yeah.
not expecting
No,
Amy.
I didn't expect it either. We everyone said, "Oh, Amy's gonna be the movie," and they're like, "Nah, it's not gonna happen." I didn't think so either.
Yeah, I think we said she might show up in like a end credit, but like I don't know, I just still wasn't expecting it really. But man, she looked awesome. Her design was like perfect, and I love the cloak that she had on, dude. It looked so cool.
Yeah, she looked really cute, and I was hoping like, who's gonna voice this character? you know, I thought,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
I,
question.
no, because I really hoped like she would say like one line or something, but nope, they kept it quiet. So I guess maybe they're still in the casting process for who Amy will be.
Yeah, I've seen some fan castings, and one of uh someone that they brought up was Allison Brie, who's she was Unikitty in the Lego movies, and she was a big part of the show Community. I think she'd do a really good job at Amy. Because have you seen the Lego movie?
No, but I know it's really good. I hear.
It is really good. Anyways, her character, I could see her doing the voice, so that would be my fan cast at least.
I
But
know, like, I think some people also say Anna Kendrick. They want Anna Kendrick to be in the movie.
yeah, I think there's a lot of good uh contenders out there for her voice, but I would love Allison Brie personally. But I'll go in a little bit of my theory and I guess hear what you think about it. So, have you seen the Terminator movies?
No, but I've heard a lot
But
of
you're
jokes.
familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, the way that the Terminators get sent back in time, there's like a lot of like storm clouds and electricity around them when they get sent back. And I don't know if you noticed that around Metal Sonic when he first like kind of just shot down.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so there's like a lightning effect around them. And I'm like, oh, dude, that's just like Terminator. And it got me thinking of this might be way off the rails, but either Agent Stone in the future, sad about Eggman's death, wants revenge on Sonic, or
Oh.
maybe Neo Metal is sending back like versions of himself, like metal versions of himself, to go back and like take out Sonic for some unknown reason. So we also know, and it's like Sonic CD, right? Because we get Amy and we get Metal, and in that whole game, you're taking out like time generators that are messing with time that Metal Sonic's setting up. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
why it would be a time travel kind of plot. Amy, I think Amy is a future Amy. I think that's why she knew where Sonic was going to be and to save him from that ambush. And that's why she has the
She's
cloak
the
and why
clone.
she's
So
like,
that's from the
why
future.
she's so awesome. Yeah. I think she's from the future. She's saving Sonic, kind of like how in the first Terminator movie, uh, John Connor came back to save, was it his mom? It was something confusing, but I think Amy's sent back to save Sonic. And I think the person that sent Amy back is Silver the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I mean that's just a perfect segue to Silver if they are gonna
Yeah.
play with time travel.
And I think Neo Metal is an interesting villain to set up because, yeah, Kyle Reese. I think Amy's an interesting character. I just lost my train of thought. But I think,
Amy's interesting because,
yeah. Yeah, I completely lost it. It
well,
slipped my
I
mind.
mean, like Amy, Metal Overlord.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was going to say Neo Metal, not Amy. Neo Metal's an interesting character to set up because Iblis, initially is the Sonic 06 villain, him and Mephiles to create Solaris.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but we know that Iblis has already been dealt with thanks to the Knuckles show. So he can't really
Yes, you're
be
right. Yeah,
that
right.
threat in the future that Silver has to contend with. So who do you replace with that? Neo Metal is a
Well,
pretty interesting villain, and he's already Metal himself, like we said in Sonic CD, has already dealt with time travel. So my theory is that Neo Metal or Metal, however it's going to be, is sending back versions of himself to take out Sonic. That's how we're going to get Silver introduced, and I think Amy that we're seeing right now is a future version of Amy.
so do you think like Amy will kind of replace Blaze's role?
Possibly, possibly.
Okay.
But I think it's just going to be completely separate because Blaze's role in '06 is already kind of convoluted in itself, seeing as she was never from the future. She's from another dimension.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was kind of weird that she was there. And then she has like a death in that game, but it doesn't really count because everything gets erased.
Yeah.
So I think having Amy be this hedgehog from the future coming back to help Sonic, who maybe she idolizes in the future, because like maybe Sonic's like some big hero, by then. I think that's a smart way to do it.
And again, this franchise isn't afraid to pay homages not only to the Sonic games but to like 80s movies. So Terminator fits in there, and I think a lot of Back to the Future. I mean, they made a Back to the Future joke, right? With Sonic, like 500
Yeah,
gigawatts or
the
whatever.
gigawatts. Yeah, that's right.
So,
So yeah, I mean that's my theory right now. I'm gonna make a video on it, and hopefully my thoughts will be a little bit more clear. I can get stuff down on paper and present more clearly than when I'm like doing it live. Um, but like I'm really excited about this. I think we're going to get Silver, and I think that Neo Metal or Agent Stone are like the possible big bads of the next movie.
oh, that'd be crazy. So like, this is the Eggman arc, and now this is the Neo Metal arc. You think with 4, 5, 6?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like I said before in our last stream, I would love if they set up some sort of big bad. I don't know if Neo Metal will be that big bad. I
Maybe.
don't even know if they will set up like an overarching villain.
Okay.
I hope that they do though. But
No,
for 4, I think he's going to be the villain.
no, because like with the first three, it was really Eggman, and then I mean the third one is Gerald and Eggman.
Yeah.
The
Well,
shadow.
more so Gerald, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would say like I've seen these posts that crack me up. I don't know if you've seen them on like Twitter or anything, where it's like villain of movie 1 was Eggman, and then they'll say like villain of movie 2 was Knuckles, villain of movie 3 was Shadow, and then they say like villain of movie 4 Metal Sonic. I'm like, Knuckles and Shadow weren't really the villains.
They were an antagonist, but they were not the
Yeah,
villains.
exactly. But yeah, we'll see.
Now, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking out loud that we're just theorizing Sonic theory.
Exactly.
uh, I feel like you're really onto something. I don't think it would be too far fetched for the way you conceive of the story to play out in the fourth movie. I think there's a good chance it may actually happen. I just wonder also if if Silver were to arrive, if he'll be the next antagonist that Sonic has to fight,
Yeah.
like
The
with
Iblis trip.
Knuckles and Shadow. Yeah, it's like you caused everything, you ruined everything, something like that.
So I kind of hope that it doesn't play out like that, because it makes sense. That's what happens in the game, right? But will audiences kind of get tired of, man, every hedgehog that you introduce, or every creature that you introduce starts off as this antagonist, and then by the end becomes a hero?
Yeah,
Will the more common movie going audience that's not super into Sonic lore kind of not like that?
yeah, that's
I
true.
think it would be so cool to have um Silver be this like future resistance leader, like Terminator, where the world's taken over by metal Sonics, and he's leading the rebellion, and he knows that in order to stop like the world from being taken over by this like metal uh robotic battalion is to have Sonic save the day. So he sends Amy back to stop him. And having Silver
Oh man, that'd be
be
so cool,
yeah,
dude.
I think that's just a great idea. Like, take that Terminator plot and make it Sonic. It's genius.
Dude, again, I'm not familiar with Terminator, but
You might have to watch it before the next one. I mean,
yeah, that's the
but,
homework. That's the homework. Oh
but
man.
yeah, it would be great. Those Terminator movies are classics for a reason, and yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna make a video detailing more about it, because the fact that Metal and Amy were introduced in CD and the whole premise of that game is time travel, already just makes so much sense in my head.
I still need to complete my playthrough of Sonic CD. So, yeah, because I know Metal Sonic and Amy are in it, but isn't it like in Sonic CD, there's a terrible future where the world's
Yeah.
corrupted by Metal Sonic and
Yep.
Sonic's trying to
It's
undo that throughout the game? Like,
it's like a metallic future, or I guess roboticized future, where Eggman has taken over and all the nature and life is, or everything is devoid of nature and life. Basically, it's all roboticized. And then you can go into the past even in that game, and you
yeah,
see how like lush and full of life everything is. And then of course there's the present. So in that game, you're just time traveling and exploring different routes and stuff like that. But there are hidden areas in that game that you can find in every level, where Metal Sonic has like a time machine or like a projector set up. And if you destroy every single one of those, you get the good ending of the game.
yeah. I've seen a bits of it because I was preparing for a video essay. It's in the back. It's like I've been talking. I mentioned before, like I wanted to talk about the environmental messaging of Sonic.
Yeah.
I think that'd be an interesting theme to explore with the films. You know, this because Sonic
Yeah.
is an environmentalist figure. He is a product of the '90s when people were really into saving the world ecologically. Because you know, like what you said, it might get a bit redundant. You know, having like the same dynamic occur again, like another creature or alien that he has to fight and they become friends again. And I don't know, I think tackling, you know, like the theme of saving the environment, you know, maybe, you know, like this is my new home and I gotta protect it. And the metal virus, you know, with Metal Sonic, it's taking over the world and I gotta put a stop to it. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and we could get the time stones, like this comment here says. Another time travel thing. So, oh, that's right. They're projectors of Metal Sonic. But yeah, if you destroy those, you'll get the good ending. Yeah, that's right.
What are the time stones again? I forgot.
So in Sonic CD, instead of having the Chaos Emeralds, they're time stones, and
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think you can go super with them, but they manipulate time.
Okay. And you
Yeah.
collect
So
them in the game?
yep, you collect
Yeah.
them in place of the Chaos Emeralds.
Okay. We got one comment. Yeah, do you think Chow will be real creatures in the future to Sonic movies? We talked about this. I hope so. I hope it's not just a
Yeah.
gimmick where it's just in a restaurant, you know. I like the restaurant. I thought it was cute, but I mean you already have so many animals. You got like the echidnas, you got owls. You can include Chow. I think that'd
Man,
be a missed opportunity.
talking about like missed opportunities, I really wish we had a tie-in comic this time around. We didn't get one, which made
Oh,
me
they did it
sad.
with the previous movies?
Yeah, so Sonic Movie 2, before it came out, or maybe it was on the same day, they had a special tie-in comic called the Sonic Movie 2 Prequel, which I thought was
Oh yeah,
funny.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think I
And
remember.
it didn't do too much, but it had like you could see what Wade and Tom were up to. You could see what Sonic was up to. The coolest was you got to see what Knuckles was up to before he came to Earth. That was really cool, and it actually showed was it Vector and Espio, or like Charmy and Espio, like teasing that they're in this universe. So
Oh
I was
yeah,
kind of hoping that we'd get something, because I still want more owl lore. Like we don't really know too much about the owls still.
yeah.
Uh, just anything would have been cool, or like maybe we get like why Shadow was sent down on this asteroid or something. Something tying it in more would have been cool.
And
Let's
that kind
see.
of that would make sense because there again, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but there are rumors of another Knuckles series, but it's gonna be tied with Team Chaotix. So for them to
Dude,
be
I hope.
released earlier, that'd be really cool. Yeah,
If
I
we
love
got
the
it,
detective series. I'd love that.
yeah, a detective series would be so fun. So this person asks, do you think we'll get Chaos in the Sonic movie universe? Because technically speaking, he is the protector of the Chow. I think we might. If these movies keep going strong, they can keep staying true to the games in a form that, audiences love, maybe we'll get him eventually. I'd
I
like to
think we
see it.
will. I think we will. I mean, he's such an iconic villain or some. I mean, he turned out to be good in the end, right? It's been a while. Chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was like redeemed in the end. So, but yeah, I mean, I think as a villain, like an initial villain, I think that will eventually happen. If these movies keep making money, I mean, they're just gonna draw from all Sonic media. I don't even think just the games, like the comics as well.
Yeah, so Grant here says, I know a lot of people think Sonic 4 is going to be a Sonic CD adaptation, but I honestly think it'll be more of a Sonic Heroes adaptation. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's going to be like a mix of both. Because I think we're going to have Neo Metal as the main villain, but it's going to be a lot of like time travel, like CD. But we'll see. I mean, I would love for a lot of like Sonic Heroes elements coming into play, like different teams coming together to take him down.
yeah. I did initially think about Sonic Heroes when I saw Metal Sonic because, I mean, you literally have Team Sonic fully formed by the end of this film. So to just explore that dynamic more in the fourth film would be interesting, especially if it's like the Sonic Heroes storyline. But to combine both Sonic CD and Sonic Heroes, I think that would be really dope.
Yeah.
Sonic Heroes is too much. I read that. Interesting. Elaborate. Uh, it was the whole trio of the Knuckles portion in the Sonic Movie 2 prequel comic, and also Knuckles' Chaotix was the original plot of the Knuckles show. Was it? Ah, that would have been
That would have
so
been so
cool.
cool.
I mean, I hope we don't have another Wade situation. I love Wade, but I hope when they do produce a new Knuckles show, it's really going to be mainly about Knuckles. And if they don't have the budget for a whole series, just make it like a short movie. You know, I'd
Yeah.
prefer that. Uh, I say this
I s-
because we're most. Uh, you want to read? I'll
you
read.
go. You
Okay, I
go.
say this because we're most definitely getting a Shadow show, which can introduce Team Dark. Yeah, I. Oh yeah, that's the second post-credit scene. Shadow's alive, which I mean I expected, but
Yeah, I did
it
too.
was cool. Uh, yeah, I mean, here's my thinking. Uh, I think Shadow deserves a show. At the very least, his own spin-off. I mean, he could even have his own movie, honestly. Like
Yeah.
a movie of this budget, just exploring Shadow's backstory more and adapt Shadow the Hedgehog video game storyline. I think that would perform very well. I mean, Keanu Reeves is uh is an A-lister. Shadow, besides Sonic, is the most popular character in the Sonic universe. Yeah, I think it would do really well. And
Especially like trying to or seeing where Shadow is right now, like trying to integrate into human society. Like he's been asleep for 50 years. His best friend Maria's dead. Like what is he going to be up to? Where is he going to be going? Is he going to be on a journey of like self-discovery and finding where he fits in, or like what the purpose of life is for him? I think that would be really interesting to see.
I'd want that too because I mean, in a way, he is completely alone because Maria's gone and Gerald's gone, and even Commander Olive Garden's gone because
Yeah.
he was in the same space or base as him. So I think a
But
journey.
even I think Shadow's glad. Like when he saw Thomas him, it was on site, dude. He decked him so hard. Like even though, which is kind of interesting because he was the only person that was trying to give them a chance to escape. And in Shadow's mind, he was still partially responsible for Maria's death, and he just laid Tom out, thinking that he was Commander Olive Garden.
Yeah, man, that was. I did not expect that to happen. By the way, with
Yeah,
with Shadow being the one to strike Tom in that way.
it
That's
was
crazy.
great though. It was really like that was one of the most powerful scenes in the entire movie, I think.
Yeah, and it makes sense like why Sonic would be so adamant in trying to find Shadow and just get rid of him. Now all we need is Rouge the Bat and Omega and Shadow for Sonic Heroes. Maybe they will do a Sonic Heroes storyline soon. Maybe not in the next film, or maybe they might do a light adaptation where it's the current cast of, or it's the current Sonic team, but it's expanded with Amy, and maybe Shadow will join to fight this army of Metal Sonics. Who knows? But I could totally see Omega and Rouge making an appearance. And again, like there's the theme and within these Sonic films that people can always change for the better, and with Omega, you know, being a product of Eggman, right? Eggman built Omega.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, even a a product of Eggman, a contraption of Eggman can also be good.
I
You know?
think that would be such an interesting character to add because we've been getting these animal creatures, but like you say, a metallic creation of Eggman that kind of doesn't necessarily have a soul, but acts like he has a soul and is almost like coming alive in a way. That would be really interesting to like see what these characters in the movie universe think of Omega.
And it'd be cool, like, hey, maybe if we're adapting the Terminator storyline,
Yeah.
you have a good robot going against the bad robots.
Maybe he's in the future working with like the resistance with like Silver, maybe I'll throw that into my theory.
Yeah. Also needs Team Rose. Oh yeah, that's the big question. Where's Big the cat?
The
The
big
big
question.
question. Maybe it's like in the games where they hide Big the cat in certain frames, and
Oh,
you just
what if
have a
they did
cutscene.
that in this movie? That would have been so great. You just see him like peeking out the side or something. Oh.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
Oh,
Go.
this reminds me, this comment. What happened to the Master Emerald at the end of Sonic 3 though? So when Sonic at the end of Sonic 2, when he left his supersonic form, the emeralds scattered, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why were they in the Master Emerald again this time?
I
That
don't.
didn't make sense to me. I was like, because they scattered and then Knuckles just reformed the Master Emerald, but they weren't contained in it like they were before. And he just had the Master Emerald. But this time we clearly see the emeralds after he uses it.
I really don't know. I didn't
Do you
even
think maybe it just
research.
like slipped them and they were like, well, the Master Emerald still gives them the ultimate power? Or
I'd
you know
have
what
to
I'm saying though?
rewatch
Because
it.
like that doesn't make. I don't think that makes sense.
No, because like when Sonic, you know, got out of his super form,
They like
Shadow
went
was
into
still.
air and shot all across the earth, and Tails is like, why did you give that power up? Right?
Was this in the end, like in the cornfield?
No, 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 no. At the end of two, what I'm saying is the
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah,
originally the Master Emeralds are sealed within, or
the
the
Master
Chaos
Emerald.
Emeralds are sealed within
Yeah,
the Master Emerald, and at
yeah.
the end of two, um, it breaks, it shatters, right? And then Sonic becomes super. He has the Chaos Emeralds in him, but he gives up that power, and they like fly out of him up, and then like across the sky, dispersing like they do in the games. So he has to find them again. But then when he gets the Master Emerald this time around in movie 3, they appear like they're in the Master Emerald again. So
Well,
that
I guess the movie answer would be like, oh, Knuckles found them and just put them
just
together,
I
and
guess that maybe.
yeah, and then gave it to Wade to play hockey with.
Dude, that was so funny.
Oh my gosh. I expected a Flames of Disaster reference, but I think they're done. We're like, nope, we're not gonna. It's been beaten to death. I mean, they literally say God form when Sonic, or God mode. That's what Maddie said. Like, why can't you just go Super Sonic and just go God mode and like go to
Yeah.
infiltrate the gun base?
I do
Uh,
like how at first Sonic wasn't willing to use the Master Emeralds. He kind of waited until it got a lot more personal.
yeah, yeah. He was like, oh, that was my. I think that was one of. I don't know if it's my favorite moment, but it's definitely up there. Like just him just being locked in for. That's what I've been seeing on Twitter. Like, I like how serious Sonic was in this movie. Like for a long time, like for a decent
Yeah,
chunk of time, like Sonic was
you're
out
locked
for
in.
blood. Yeah.
Yeah. So Anime Monarch says if this takes place in the future and there's a resistance, it's very possible we get a lot of Sonic characters introduced depending on how big the resistance is. And yeah, I feel like, we like we said, I think Amy, she's from the future, in my opinion, right now. I think we'll get Silver. Because I think there was also a statement that Paramount put out that they were like, yeah, we want to use Silver more, or like we have plans for him. And then we might get like Omega. We might get, I mean, who knows? We might get like Cream. Could get a bunch of different characters. Blaze, maybe, like Ranny said. So who knows?
Yeah, I think that if that resistance storyline turns out to be true, it is just a perfect opportunity to introduce so many characters with it feeling more natural, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, gonna be a Sonic character be a movie. Added an Emerald.
Emerald.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Sonic.
cool.
Oh my gosh, Emerald in this movie. Dang, that'd be wild.
Watch Big the Cat be a mascot character.
I think he has a lot of meme potential. Him and Froggy.
Sonic is royalty, so he might be king in the future. I think Sonic might be like the icon of the resistance. I think they might like look to him for their inspiration, even though I think this might be way in the future. But like they've heard legend of like, the hedgehog hero. See, this is the plot hole that's been messing with me because I felt for certain the Chaos Emeralds were scattered. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
I
didn't
think
even remember that.
the
Yeah.
yeah, they were scattered at the end, and then all of a sudden they're just back in the Master Emerald, which I don't think it makes sense. It's something that I'm willing to kind of like ignore, or maybe him using the Master Emerald like summons them to his location. But for me, I was like, didn't they scatter in the last movie? So
Knuckles going out to find all the Chaos Emeralds would have been such a nice plot for the Knuckles series.
yeah,
Yes, you're right. Why didn't we do that? You could have done that with Wade. It's like I
that
want to
could
be
have
on the
been
next.
his like way of proving that he was
He's a warrior,
warrior.
not bowling. Like, I just thought that was so. I mean, again, like I thought the show was funny, but yeah, that was stupid. I'm like, why bowling? Why do you? The flames of disaster, man. Yeah, the flames of disaster. Is Rouge being the gun lady in disguise? She was very suspicious and shares some similar personality traits. I do think like maybe Kristen Ritter's character will eventually meet up with Rouge. Maybe because she
Yeah,
sees the I mean just the utility of having these aliens, of working with these aliens. You know, I think that'd be
yeah,
really
I
cool.
could see that. I could see them working together. I don't buy into her being Rouge, but I could see Rouge and her partnering kind of like in Sonic X with Topaz being like partners or something.
Yeah.
They do want to make an Avengers level threat, so there might be a bad guy we're not expecting. Yeah, that could be the case. There's a lot of villains in Sonic, but to fill the shoes of Eggman is going to be a hard task for the movie makers. And a lot of these villains are like eldritch gods, and it's like, are they wanting to bring those in to the movie franchise? Who knows? Like, in like Chaos is kind of like an eldritch monster in a way. You have the End from Sonic Frontiers, which is like a eldritch like god. What's the one from Unleashed? Dark Gaia. Dark
Dark
Gaia is
Knight,
like
yeah.
some creepy eldritch monster kind of thing. So it's like I don't know if they're gonna set those up as the big bads, which leaves you with like, well, there's Zavok or Zavok. I don't know how you pronounce it.
There's like six, yeah.
Yeah, would they introduce them? Maybe. I don't know if like they necessarily would though. They've only been a big part of like one game. I would love to see something like Dr. Starline, but he's only in the comics right now. I think Dr. Starline could perfectly uh, fill the roles of Eggman while also being interesting because he'd be an animated villain. But I don't know. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, there's just the thing also with having an unexplored world is there's just so much potential of what can happen. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways, and they can choose a certain character or villain, and they can find a way to for it to make in sense or to make it sense in the lore of the world that they made. Oh yeah, so Robotnik is alive if Metal Sonic is there because I initially thought like did Gerald on the sidelines make Metal Sonic or did
Right.
man?
We have no idea his origins in this movie, which is interesting. Like I said, I really initially thought that that quill that Sonic gives him was gonna lead to his creation, and it was gonna be like Eggman betraying Sonic, making a one up on him. It doesn't seem like that's the case, so I could see Stone maybe taking it into his own hands. He
Yeah.
makes a Metal Sonic. Um, Gerald, I don't think he had time to. I mean, Gerald doesn't even really know Sonic. You know, he sees him at the end, but that's about it. Or I guess when they get captured, but he had no like knowledge of this hedgehog prior, so I don't think he'd make a metallic version of him. Uh, I'm really leaning on like maybe Stone makes him, and maybe he goes rogue.
Man, that'd be crazy, and that'd be such an evolution for his character and for the actor, you know, because you're just kind
Yeah.
of the partner, the lackey for Eggman, but now you're like you've
Well,
developed into this main villain role. That'd be kind of crazy.
see, I don't know if he'd be a main villain. I think it would be kind of like Skynet and Terminator, where he tries to take it into his own hands, but he doesn't. Maybe he's not on the same level of Eggman, where he makes a mistake in the machine where it like
Ah, okay.
turns against him and leads to like Metal making his own army and taking over the world. That's just a theory, though. He could be the main villain too. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I have a question. Like, do you think they'll ever? Because one of my theories in their previous live stream was where in that the third movie will be like the 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 final chapter in this part of Sonic's life where he's no longer going to
Yeah.
be the son of Tom and Maddie and he's going to explore the world. So do you think in future movies they're just going to just explore different worlds, with time travel and
Oh,
alternate
I hope.
dimensions?
Let's go. Let's go crazy. Let's go back to Sonic's world. Let's go to like where Knuckles came from. Let's explore time travel. I want them to start doing crazier stuff. I love Sonic in the real world, but I do want to see like more. I want to see them like open their imaginations up to all the different possibilities that they can do with this IP. So yeah, I really hope that they explore more of that stuff.
And with each success, with the films just becoming more and more successful, I think the studio will have more confidence in the team to explore. Like it's like okay, you guys have proven that you know how to make a successful movie. Uh, just go all the way. Just go bonkers. Just we're more open to what may be perceived as like a riskier storyline or character.
Yeah, I think you're on the money there again, because this movie felt like the studio kind of gave them more control to be like, all right, maybe we don't need as many human characters to be at the forefront. We can like take a risk on this hedgehog and all these animated characters leading the film. And we got so much of them in this, and people are loving it. So hopefully they see that and let the studio or let the director kind of have his way and introduce more game elements.
Yeah, I mean we're outperforming Mufasa, guys.
That's so crazy.
That's like a
And
Disney property.
I mean, and on Rotten Tomatoes right now, last I looked, it was holding at like an 86% with almost 100 reviews. And the audience scores like a 98 or
98,
something like
yeah.
insane. So critics and normal audience goers are just enjoying it. And it is, like we said, we have criticisms. It's not a perfect film, but it's just fun. You can't deny it's like a fun movie to just like sit back and just have a good time.
Yeah, it's like for both adults and kids, because again, there's a lot of jokes there. I'm like, oh, they actually said
Yeah.
this. It's really funny. Black Doom is the biggest threat, low key. He is straight up an Avenger level threat. I mean, he's like Thanos, I guess, in this world. And I hope they explore him more through a potential spin-off Shadow series or movie.
That's a great point, Grant. I think that like Black Doom could be the character that they have kind of like in the background, like there's mention of him and they finally set him up after like so many movies that they have to take him on and maybe Shadow has to confront where he came from. Cuz like in the Shadow movies, maybe he can have like flashbacks of like remembering his planet or something, and we he kind of like or maybe he has visions kind of like in Shadow Generations and he starts to remember things or like have like weird powers or I don't know. They can do so many things that like hint towards Black Doom like being this threat that's coming to Earth. And Shadow's gonna have to save his new home.
And also, like, we have a hint of him with Shadow arriving in a comet. So
Yeah. So Sonic
Sonic
4 might be the first movie where Tom and Maddie are basically not in the film if it takes place in the future. Yeah, I think they could probably be in the beginning, maybe. Kind of like how they were in this one and then they kind of like got moved to the side, but it could be the first film without them. I don't know if I'd like that though. I feel like they're integral to Sonic's character at this point and part of his family, but maybe have them be less involved again. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. Like what I think is if they do phase them out, more and more, and eventually like completely, I hope they do it well. Where it's kind of heartfelt. Like okay, I'm grown up now, and I got to do my own thing and save other worlds, not just Earth. And there's always the potential for them to come back, but that's how I would do it. Like it's like
Yeah.
a coming of age story where it's okay. I gotta move out of the house and become my own hedgehog. Uh, thanks for everything, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I think that would be a good way to like do it. But I love them in these movies. Like I said, I don't think we would have had the emotional moments that we got in this film without them. Like I really think that Tom was like the key driving factor in Sonic's emotions, at least for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it when Tom got hurt. I was like, oh, this is
Even when that like rebar was like about to come down, dude, I was like, oh my, are they gonna do this? Like, is he actually gonna like get stabbed? That
oh man, that
was
was
kind of crazy.
oh oh yeah. This is kind of a side tangent. But like those gravity panels, it reminds me of
Yeah,
like an SA2. Because
like
it's kind of like an homage to it where it's not exactly like it because in SA2 you like pull levers and you get attracted to certain blocks.
yeah, you're
It's
right.
really hard, and there's like I like just the design of it. I'm like, oh, that's similar to the gravity panels in SA2. That's so cool.
That's a good catch, dude. I didn't even think about that. That's really, yeah. So Grant says the Deadly Six screams TV show spin-off villains. Yeah, I could kind of see that. Like maybe do a little short with them invading it or something. Starline did create Surge and her best friend, which is a very messed up story. It's true.
Have they adapted any uh
Comic stories?
comic book elements yet?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Again, like as long as these movies keep making money, there's just a wealth of just story and characters and worlds that they could really dive into with these movies. It's like innumerable what they can make. Uh, So it'd be interesting if they ever adapt like a straight up like comic book storyline.
I would love it.
The
Metal
metal
Virus or
virus.
something.
Oh man. Yeah.
Even like the latest writers arc was really cool. So yeah, I'd love for them to even just pull like a character from the comic. I think would be my wish because I really like some of the original characters that spawned from that.
Yeah.
Also, I want to just say, don't apologize for commenting. We like reading your guys' comments and seeing what you guys have to say, and it sparks more conversation, and it also gets our brains going, thinking about things that maybe we didn't think about. So
Yeah. Always wants to prove that he's better than the real Sonic.
yeah,
Yeah. Again, if they go like the more environmental route or have more environmental themes implemented in the next movies, I think that'd be one way to distinguish it more compared to the
yeah,
previous three.
man, it's gonna be so interesting because I really don't think we're getting Eggman for the next one. Knock on wood, but that's gonna just change the movie entirely. You know, because he's been in all three. He's been a major antagonist in all of them. So it's gonna feel pretty different, and I guess we'll see how everyone feels about that if he's not in it.
I wonder how that will impact the box office. I don't think it would really, um,
I
because the
I
main
don't know because I feel like a lot of the casual movie going audience really likes Jim
loves Jim
Carrey.
Carrey. Yeah,
For like us Sonic fans, I feel like maybe it doesn't have any impact. Like we just want to see what the next iteration of these movies is going to bring for us. But I don't know. I feel like the casual moviegoers might be like, "Ah, I really like Jim Carrey. I might pass on this like animated hedgehog since he's not in it."
that's true.
That's just a guess. I hope not. I hope people are coming around to this franchise and really enjoying what it has to bring. But we'll see.
Yeah, I hopefully Ben Schwartz's wish comes true where Daniel Day Lewis voices one of the main villains.
Dude, please. Please, that would be so cool. I'm just excited for all the new characters that are gonna be present and like who's gonna voice them. It's always so fun to find those things out. Like I never Idris Elba was never on my mind for Knuckles. And then when I heard him, I was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is the perfect Knuckles.
Yeah.
What do
Question:
you
Do you
think?
think metal?
You
Sorry,
go ahead.
we'll go
You
rude.
go.
We'll go rogue. Sorry. And send versions of himself back in the past to kill his shadow and his friends. I mean, I guess so. It seems like that. That's kind of like what you're alluding to, right? Theory where.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's kind of like the plot of Heroes where like his sentience gets him to a point where he's like, "Oh, I'm better than whoever created him." Probably not Robotnik this time around, but and he just kind of has this like mentality that he's better, and that's what's driving him. Not necessarily like having loyalty towards Stone if Stone makes him or anything. He just wants to prove that he's better than Sonic and the rest of the world and takes it over. We'll see though. I mean, this movie's so far out. I think they gave it a spring 2027 release date, if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So we have, I mean, they're probably just working on the script right now, right? Like, uh, it would be so early in development
Oh
that,
yeah. If even that, they just said, "Oh, okay, we'll make a new one. Let's
right?
pick
They
the
might not
next."
even have started.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're way far out, but that's just an early theory that I'll drop it sometime this week. I wanted to wait a bit because I don't want to like spoil people who haven't seen the movie. But yeah, that's just an early theory. It might fall to the wayside when we finally get more information about this upcoming film. But yeah, who knows? Thank God Sonic is beating Mufasa. I feel the same.
Joe.
I feel like I feel like those Disney like live action remakes are kind of soulless where I feel Sonic has a lot of heart.
Yeah,
That's
Sonic does have a lot of heart. For all its
yeah.
faults, uh, I can't deny the love. I mean, again, like I say earlier, like I've never seen a studio put this much attention to their character. to
Yeah.
and to listen to their fans in this way when so much is at stake by taking a step back and acknowledging uh your mistakes. It's
Yeah, and
just
that's
it's
a hard
crazy.
thing to do. I don't think that that should ever be underlooked because um ego is something that's kind of hard to get over, and I think especially if you're in that Hollywood space, it might be a little harder because you're constantly praised. But even just in our everyday lives, admitting that you're wrong or maybe something can be improved upon, it's hard. So
No,
I
it's
I
so difficult.
really yeah, I really appreciate that they were able to like reflect and say, this isn't what the fans wanted. Maybe we thought it was a good idea, but we want to do something that pleases the audience. So yeah, I really respect them for that.
And that saved this movie. Like
It did.
it saved this franchise, man. I don't think we would have a third movie if not for that choice to redesign Sonic. And oh my gosh. I was just gonna say, like, I was make a dumb joke, like like Mufasa dies in the movie and in the box office. It's crazy.
Oh, R.I.P.
R.I.P. to Mufasa. Put F's in the chat for Mufasa, guys. F's in the chat. Oh my gosh.
They could script in a way where Robotnik had a project schematic for Metal Sonic, and Gunn took his plans and made it their creation, and Metal Sonic goes rogue on them. Yeah, I could see that too. Um, maybe it is a Gunn like creation, kind of like how we saw they were willing to have Gerald create a super weapon for them. They got the
Oh yeah,
schematics
yeah,
from
yeah,
him,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
so maybe they're like, all right, we're gonna raid Eggman's like old base now that he's gone, he's dead. We'll take whatever he has and we're gonna make it our thing. So maybe like I think you're onto something, Michael, or could possibly be onto something. It could be a gun made Metal Sonic. And he either went rogue or Gun's using him to go back in time and make sure Sonic isn't around. That's interesting.
Man, no, yeah. No, it totally makes sense that Gunn would make this. Like
Yeah.
they've been studying this hedgehog for so long. They've been tracking him. They showed that in the no, they were tracking Knuckles, right? In the Knuckles show.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they were tracking all of Team Sonic, but they went after Knuckles because he left like all three of them. He went off on his own. So yeah, they have been tracking all of them.
No, yeah, like man, having Gunn make this Metal Sonic army like as a new weapon, but it just got out of hand. That totally makes sense. I could totally see that
Yeah.
happening.
And especially like how we've seen Kristen Ritter react once again. I think she was a big part of the movie, and just seeing her attitude versus Commander Olive Garden's towards these aliens. Um she was a lot more serious and like did not care for them. So I think I could see her like leading up this project to contend with these aliens.
You're on to something, Michael.
You are onto something. Black Doom's an alien conqueror. I'll let you take this one.
Would you bring in the gun commander Abraham Tower for the Shadow movie? I mean, I guess Kristen Ritter's character is kind of filling that role where she's more of an antagonist, but even then, like in the Shadow Dark Beginnings, like Abraham Tower has kind of had a change of heart. But that was after like after the Shadow the Hedgehog game, right? Where after going against Gunn, Abraham Tower realizes like, oh, Shadow's actually a good guy. It's been again. There's so many details. I'm trying to remember it correctly, but maybe they can have a similar arc for
I
Kristen
think
Ritter.
they I think they kind of gave that to Commander Olive Garden,
Yeah, I
where
thought so too. Yeah.
he kind of like the first two movies he was kind of unsure about Sonic and his friends, but at the end of two he was like, okay, I like them. And that's why he, requested their help at the beginning. And with him killed off, I think Gunn's bad. I think they're bad now. I think Kristen Ritter just doesn't care for these characters.
I like that they pose a threat because I
I
don't like
do too.
I don't like Sonic just being a fed. I think that's like as he gets older, it's like, oh, I gotta do things my way because it gets complicated when you're attached to this nefarious government agency, like just trying to.
Yeah, and I really like actually how they portrayed everything because like I felt bad for Commander Walters. Like I
I
was like,
did
oh,
too.
he's kind of a funny character that I like, and he trusts these characters. He gave them the command code, so he cared about them and he was willing to meet with them. So I think the importance of his death was felt, and I really appreciate that they were willing to kill him off. Honestly, like it made like everything more serious going forward.
Yeah, and I will say, like, as a criticism, I thought, like, again, like with the first act, it was so quick.
Yeah,
It was like, oh, like man, he just died. What? That's
yeah,
crazy. Like an Uncle Ben moment. Like already.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's probably my biggest nitpick is it moved a little too fast. But what
Mm,
happens if he creates the metal? Oh, Metal Sonic. If he creates it, that could be interesting.
yeah, if they venture out to adapting comic book storylines, I wonder. Man, maybe they should have Ian Flynn on board. I know people have their
I
thoughts on
wish.
Ian Flynn,
I
but
love his writing. I think he's a great writer. And I think Shadow Generations proves that. You can't please everyone though at the
no,
end of the
you
day.
can't.
Like
No, especially
so
Sonic fans. Nope.
exactly. So I think he has done a stellar job with everything, tying in canon from the comics and the games, everything, making it like a cohesive story and adding elements that make things even more interesting. I would love if he was brought on board.
They
So
were
Grant says, "Oh, you go, you go."
they were based. They would make a Team Chaotic show because the Deadly Six would be good villains for them. Did they fight the Deadly Six in the games?
They've had encounters with them in the comics. Actually, some really cool
Yeah,
encounters with
yeah.
them.
That was during the Metal Virus arc, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I know that, but I didn't know if there was like a game storyline where they.
No, the only besides like, I think they've only been in 3 games. Sonic Lost World. Zavik appears in Forces as like a hologram, and then they're in the Team Sonic Racing, or Zavik is in Team Sonic Racing. But yeah, beyond that, I don't think they're in anything game wise. But they could be interesting villains. I don't know. I just really want a detective story. So if you can fit them into a really good like mystery where they're trying to figure out who's causing like chaos or something, that would be fun.
Oh, maybe that's where you can introduce Rouge. I mean, she's a
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
see
Brilliant.
hire
She's
me.
like going around stealing stuff and they're trying to figure out who's oh dude.
Oh no, maybe that's it. Like maybe someone stole the emerald. He hires a detective agency to help him find
Oh,
it, and then they encounter Rouge.
chef's kiss. Chef's
There you
kiss.
go.
You're cooking, dude. You're cooking.
Yeah, there we go.
It's definitely going to be interesting because a lot of people go to the movies because of Jim. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of maybe like the more casual movie going audience, he's a big name. He's a really big name. A lot of people have grown up with him, his comedy. So I think some people might check out. I think the hardcore Sonic fans were gonna, we're ride or die at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think maybe some casual moviegoers might pass the next time around if he's not in it. Heard some leaks suggesting that they're already deep in script writing and planning. Okay. I hope they take their time writing this and really cook something fun.
Yeah. And it seems like with each movie they learn like what worked and what didn't work. So I hope with this fourth one they're able to balance the pacing better. That I mean we've been repeating it, but like that really was like if they could
Yeah.
just resolve
If they
that
gave
issue.
it the length of Sonic 2 and like
Yes.
allow for some slower moments. Like I do like that there was a lot of action, but you know, the payoffs, like we've said a million times now, for the emotional scenes come from the slower character building moments. So that would have been a little bit nicer to have.
Who's the real villain of what? Frost? There's a lot of
I'm guessing
villains.
Sonic 4, maybe.
I guess Metal Sonic. I think he's the big bad. Metal
Neo
Overlord,
Metal.
dude.
Metal
Neo.
Overlord. Oh, that would be cool. That would be cool to see.
Who would, do you think? I mean, he's gonna have a voice, right?
Neo Metal I know talks, but Metal Sonic doesn't usually talk. So Neo Metal would have a voice, which would be cool.
Christian Bale. I'm just throwing a name out there.
Oh, yeah.
I could totally see
Getting
Christian
some.
Bale doing it. I mean, he's voiced animated films before with the Ghibli
Yeah.
movies. So it's not too far fetched for him to voice to lend his talent to this project.
Yeah, I'm horrible at like fan casting voices, so I don't even know who I'd suggest, but Christian Bale would be really cool. Get Liam Neeson or something.
Oh man, what's his name? I'm just trying to think. I gotta pull it up. I think this is the perfect voice uh for Big the Cat. I'm gonna pull him up. Uh,
So
yeah,
while you
you.
do that, I'll read this. So I don't like the idea of there being an army of Metal Sonic. It means that for most of the film, Metal Sonic is going to be cannon fodder or the whole film. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. I made a video probably a year back saying that's like about the problem with Metal Sonic, where anything that he appears in nowadays, it feels like he's just there to get beat kind of fast. Um, Sonic Prime kind of had this issue where they introduced what was he called? Chaos Sonic, and he
Yeah,
got
yeah,
beat
yeah.
really fast. And he was kind of a cool threat, but they only kept him around for one episode, and then he kind of became like a whole army. And then in like Sonic 4, the game, he gets beat kind of fast. So yeah, I don't like that Metal Sonic gets beat so easily when he's supposed to be like, you know, the carbon copy of Sonic in a metallic form. He's supposed to be like one of the most intimidating rivals, but he gets beat quite often. So maybe they'll fix it, but we'll see. I did think it was kind of weird that we saw so many Metal Sonics at first, and then Amy was able to beat them. But that also led me towards thinking that's going to be like maybe in the future robots had taken over the world. We'll see though.
And as a side note, I I found out the actor. I was trying to remember his name. I think Seth Rogen should be Big the Cat.
Oh my gosh, that'd be hilarious.
Oh yeah, he's Donkey Kong. So I'm like, Big the Cat, right?
I could
Seth
see
Rogen.
that.
Yeah, Seth Rogen.
Where's
Seth Rogen.
Froggy?
Yeah, yeah. You could do it. That was pretty good.
I can't do it.
Good theory. Like the name. Great theory, man.
Director Rockwell's character seems more anti-Team Sonic. Makes sense. Gun would start to turn against them. Yeah, yeah. Who made that original comment? What was their? I don't remember. They were onto something. Was it Michael? Whoever it was, they were definitely onto something.
Oh, Seth Rogen as Vector seems more likely.
Seth
No, yeah.
I wonder if they include Vector, if he'd have that kind of weird grating voice that he has in the game. Yeah, that was pretty good. That was actually pretty good, dude.
Dude, their ultimate attack in Sonic Heroes is so cursed. I'm just like remembering it now. They're like
I've never played Heroes.
It's so cursed. You just look it up online, like, why did they include this? But as a kid, I just accepted it. I'm like, okay, this is normal. I'll be back. I'm gonna use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right. Let's check out more of your guys' comments. I love his writing too. Yeah, Ian Flint's a really good writer. He gets a lot of flack, you know, but fans are going to be picky no matter what. But I think the important thing is that he really knows his Sonic lore and he tries to stay true to the characters, which I really appreciate. And you know, not everything that he writes is going to be perfect or prolific, but it's fun. It's fun. adding in Tangle and Whisper mentioned in Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, I mean, Tangle and Whisper would be fun additions to the movie universe. I would love to see them. They were either some of the first original IDW characters or the first original IDW characters, and yeah, they're really cool. Yeah, the Deadly Six haven't been in a lot, which I know that some people are happy about that. Some people aren't big fans of the Deadly Six. I don't mind them. When I first started getting into Sonic, they kind of intrigued me because they're these bright, colorful, demon-looking guys, and I kind of like what they did with them in the comics. There's the whole Zeddy Hunt arc, and of course, they were a major antagonist in the Metal Virus. So there's fun stuff that you can do with them, but I know a lot of people don't like. They kind of got the Infinite treatment, right, where they were in a game that I think a lot of people didn't like. So now people still kind of have a resentment towards them, but I think they're cool. We'll see. We'll see if Sonic Team does anything else with them. Yeah, time travel can get really confusing. Definitely. Definitely. It's going to be one Metal Sonic, probably powered by a Chaos Emerald. Yeah, I think there's probably like a main Metal Sonic. Like I said, I think it's going to be Neo Metal. That's just my opinion. But that would be cool to see. Especially maybe even powered by the Master Emerald, like he is in the comics. Who would be SBO?
Keanu Reeves again.
Keanu Reeves.
I think it'd be a good SPO too.
Yeah, he kind of has that like stoic ninja kind of like vibes. Because wasn't he in oh, was he in The Last Samurai?
Yeah, I think so. Is that with Tom Cruise? He was.
Oh, maybe it was Tom Cruise.
There's like a movie called Ronin. He played like a samurai.
There's some historical movie about like when the US I think invaded Japan or something like that, and they were trying, like, Japan was modernizing and getting rid of like samurai or something like that. Maybe it wasn't Keanu though. Maybe it was Tom Cruise, and that's, I don't know. Someone with a really soft voice though, I think needs to be SBO.
I can't think. Robert Pattinson. There you go. Or who was the other fan cast for Shadow? Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. Yeah, I don't know if he'd be a good SBL. He might be though. I don't know. I really liked the idea of him being Shadow. Metal Sonic might turn into a robot by Tails' secret. I don't know what you're saying, man. I don't know what Tails' secret history is. No writer is perfect, but heck, us Spider-Man fans know this the hard way. In the Amazing Spider-Man comics, which aren't good comics, sadly, these days. Yeah, Marvel has kind of fallen off on the comics, and DC's been pretty good, so I'm kind of excited for that crossover. But it just depends with the writers and everything. Sometimes you get good writers, sometimes you get writers that aren't great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting, like how each writer has their own take on a character. This is a tangent, but I've been wanting to like get back and like get. I was a huge Spider-Man fan. Like I want to read the comics more, and like I have a big book of just the OG amazing Spider-Man run with Stan Lee. And I also want to read the Jay Straczynski, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, like his run, because people say his comic book run for Spider-Man is considered the best, even better than Stan Lee's. So, yeah.
I think the last Spider-Man comic series I read was when they introduced the Red Goblin, which was like the Green Goblin merged with the Carnage symbiote, which was kind of cool.
Wow.
But Yeah, mostly nowadays I just read Sonic. Oh man, I should show you all this really cool comic that I've been reading actually.
Let's see. Neo Metal could be like Skynet or Ultron from Marvel Comics. Yeah, that's what Theory's been saying.
All right, so of course I got like all my Sonic hard copies here, but IDW did a crossover recently. I don't know if you're a Naruto fan at all, Randy, but
Oh yeah,
his
those look sick. I've been seeing them on Twitter. The art looks really cool.
dude, it's so cool. Because my girlfriend got me into Naruto, and I've always been a big Turtles fan. Like not super big, but I guess I really enjoy the Ninja Turtles. And yeah, dude, it's a treat. So I'm kind of hoping for this is what like the DC Sonic crossover is going to be because like I mean it's just so cool seeing all these characters come together. But
Yeah,
yeah, great
I
stuff.
I grew up with Ninja Turtles, and yeah, it's I know the comic books for the Ninja Turtles are really cool. My brother he got the Last Ronin.
Yeah, that's like one of the all-time best I've heard.
Yeah, and I know they're making a game for it. So
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I hope it's like the Arkham games.
totally unrelated to Sonic, but who's your favorite turtle?
Donatello, easily.
Donnie. Okay, why
Yeah,
Donnie?
dude, I've always been drawn to like the techie characters that are kind of like the nerds of the group, but
Okay.
are like, yeah, I don't know. I just love Donnie.
I think
What
for
about
me,
you?
yeah, like for me when I was a kid, it's changed now. Like I liked Raph because he was red and angry.
Yeah,
And I like his twin psi weapons. And
yep,
I liked now I like Leo. I feel like I relate to Leo more. Like I think it's just like oh Leo has his like stuff together, man. Like he's on top of it. Uh I just think he's an
yeah.
interesting character, Leo.
He is.
Uh,
He's so cool. Did you not to get too much into Ninja Turtles, but did you see the I think it was like 2006 animated movie that came out
yes.
in theaters?
Was in
Dude,
3D.
so good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
still remember it. I'm like, this looks really good.
I went to the theaters and to watch it, and dude, I still think about that movie and the fight between like Raphael when he's in this like armored suit versus Leo, dude.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so good.
And, and
I'll let you do
again, we're talking about turtles now. So see, you brought it up.
that.
Thank
I
you.
know I should have brought it up.
I mean, it looks so cool. Come on. I just think the collaboration between Naruto and Ninja Turtles makes so much sense. I just think like,
Yeah.
oh man, I mean, yeah,
Well,
and the
welcome to
art
Turtle
looks so
Theory,
good.
everyone.
Uh,
Rebranding.
yeah, Turtle Theory, second channel, subscribe. No, I was gonna say like, I mean, growing up as a kid, especially because I have a brother, so it's like, okay, how can you not love the Ninja Turtles? You know, I used to like live in New Jersey, and like New York was just right there. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
visit New York. So it's like, okay, they're brothers, they're turtles, they're ninjas, they fight crime, they like pizza, they live in like New York, and they like skateboard, and that's
Yeah.
awesome. And
They're just so fun.
yeah, they're so cool. They're a parody on apparently the Daredevil comics.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the
It started off as a parody thing and just grew into like actually the first comics are like really serious, which is kind of funny. Their personalities are kind of different now. I think
yeah
because of the
the
old
movies,
cartoon like made them a little bit
yeah,
goofier.
cartoons, yeah, movies, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Sonic. I guess we love the Ninja Turtles. One thing that's weird to me is how we don't really see Gerald and Maria interact in this movie. He says he wants to avenge her, but why? We never see them bond or even have a moment like Shadow Maria. Exactly. That's what we've
Mhm.
been saying. Like one qualm we have with the film is that we wish there was more of a Shadow and Maria and Gerald's backstory. You know,
It's yeah, it's tell don't show instead of show don't tell. They told us in the beginning like I think it was Walters his younger self said, "Oh, that's the doctor's
granddaughter.
his granddaughter. He takes her
Yeah.
everywhere." But they didn't show us how much Gerald cares about Maria. we get that line, and then we get him running away with them when he's like, "We have to leave now." But yeah, we didn't get anything with them really.
Yeah, and it would have been cool. Like, I mean, you can just introduce a flashback. You don't. I don't even think like you need to have someone make an like exposit the backstory for Shadow and his origin and all that. Not that I'm against that, but I just felt like that's not the only way, and I felt like it was kind of lazy. Like, okay, you're just gonna let Doctor Olive Garden just tell Shadow's backstory when maybe I'm just thinking out loud right now where Shadow returns to the base and just by being there, he looks at items that make him reminisce of his life here. Or
Yeah.
and with Gerald, like him and Gerald can just talk about, man, remember this place, something like that. They find an old computer, maybe there's like old video files of them together as a family. I think that would have been interesting.
Or even have Gerald like be like have a line where he's like, "I still miss her," and like think I haven't stopped thinking about her since that day or something. Like
I
that would
haven't
have had
stopped
more
thinking about her.
impact.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'll never forget this, and it gives even more power as to why they want to destroy the world, because their world's destroyed with Maria.
Yeah. And speaking of, I thought it was actually a pretty powerful line when Gerald went and said, "You're no Maria," when he was
Yeah,
talking to
yeah,
Eggman. Dude,
yeah.
that kind of that actually had my jaw drop. I was like, "Oh, dude!" I was like, I knew he was bad, but like hearing him say that to his grandson, who wanted nothing more than to have his love and attention, was like devastating. I was like,
Yeah,
"Whoa!"
I was the same way. Like my mouth was agape. Like me, my brother, and uh M14 Gaming. Like we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe
Yeah,
he said that. That's bad.
that was crazy.
So I don't know if I already asked this, but what are your thoughts on Gerald overall? Like how he was portrayed in this movie?
I liked it. I thought he was perfectly evil, kind of like we theorized before the movie came out, where he was going to be the real one that was unhinged and seeking to destroy the world. I like how he knew that he was going to die when he destroyed the world, like how it was going to overload, but he just didn't care. He just his world, like you said, was already destroyed with the loss of Maria. So I liked how he was just like, I don't care if I die. I'm taking everyone out because of how humanity is. And I liked his silliness too. Being in the VR with Ivo and doing their little like laser dance. I don't know, something about it, like it was a perfect blend of like being like over the top silly but still evil that I really enjoyed. What about you?
No, yeah, I thought because we were worried initially like he'd be too similar to Eggman, but they were able to categorize them pretty differently in
Yeah,
this
he
film.
did feel different.
And um similar to the line of like, "Oh, you're no Maria." I think he said something also where it's like, "Why would you care about this world? Like, you're nothing to them, or your successes mean nothing to them." Like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, wow, like this guy, and it's like what we predicted before, where like Gerald wants to destroy the world, where Eggman wants to rule it, and that's where they butt heads.
We did call that. We did call that that was going to be their like light switch moment where like he realizes, "Oh, this isn't right." It's just kind of funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think going into it, one of our worries that we talked about was, will they be able to make that distinguishment between the two Robotniks? And they did a good job of doing it.
Yeah. I do feel like we're getting a shadow show before movie 4. What stories do you think they'll tell? I mean, the easiest one will be adapting the Shadow the Hedgehog video game storyline. Make it a story of self exploration, learning more about his past, having connecting it to Black Doom, where he comes from.
Yeah, I think flashbacks of more Maria, more Gerald. Well, maybe Gerald won't be possible if I don't think Jim Carrey will come back for a show. But
Yeah.
if they can get more flashbacks with Maria, that would be great. I think that's something that we kind of need to flesh out their relationship. And yeah, maybe like hints of like Black Doom. That would be cool to have explored. I know in the games we obviously know why Gerald cares so much for Maria, but in the movie they don't give us any reason as to why she's important, like they did with Shadow. Yeah, yeah, we kind of brushed on that. Um, would have liked to have seen more of their relationship. What do you think about this? Do you think Shadow would work with Gun like he does in the games?
It would take a lot. It would take a lot. Maybe it'd be a reluctant alliance to get what he wants. Like, oh, they have information that's not available anywhere else, or so it's like I guess I'll work with them, but I'm gonna do my own thing. I hope it's like with Sonic, where both Shadow and Sonic, to me, I think the best way to characterize them would be like they're very independent characters. Like they do their own thing in the end, and so I that's why a lot of Sonic fans were not a fan of when Sonic just started becoming like a cop in the game. Like, what?
Yeah,
Why is he working for Gun? This is crazy. But I know, like in my Shadow the Hedgehog video essay, I did complain about like why would Shadow work for Gun, the organization that destroyed Maria, and a lot of people commented, uh, saying, well, it's a way for Shadow to move on. Like they were able to. He was able to reconcile with his past and his trauma by working with Gun because they've changed. And I'm like, okay, I guess you could do that. So I hope if he does work for Gun in this cinematic universe, it will feel earned and it will make sense.
yeah. I've never really liked him being a part of Gun. I think Rouge is kind of the only character that fits. But like you said, I can kind of see it as a way of righting his wrongs, maybe, because he was willing to destroy the world. So maybe for a brief time he could team up with them. But I don't know if I'd be a fan of it. I'm curious how the movie universe will handle Amy and Sonic's relationship. If it'll be love or admiration, respect when it comes to Amy. I could see it like with my going off my theory, I guess, of time travel. I could see it being where like everyone in the future holds this admiration for Sonic, but when she gets sent back and sees him, she's just like head over heels for him and she's like falls for him.
No, I feel the same way. And I remember talking to M14 about it where, uh, again, this is kind of, it's not that controversial. Like, the worry is they'll kind of girl bossify her, which I kind of get
Yeah.
what he's saying. Where no, Amy's a pretty strong character, and I love her characterization in the comics, especially. But I hope they keep that. I mean, she's very girly, and I like that. I'm like, oh, she's a girly
Yes.
girl, but she knows how to take charge, especially in the IDW comics, from what I've read. She's like a good mediator between people, and I hope that she does have a love interest in Sonic, and it's a way for Sonic to develop too, because it's just been like dudes being transported from another world. He hasn't really interacted with like a girl, so I
Yeah.
think that'd be fun to explore, uh, like the that side of him. Um, but I also had another friend who watched the movie recently, and he hopes that, like, I guess which is pretty popular in her in-game characterization, like Amy's like a stalker, she just stalks Sonic. He hopes like she's not like that, like she has her own thing.
Yeah, I like you said, I think it'll be a fun dynamic to explore with especially if they have Amy like having a crush on Sonic and how he'll have to deal with that since he hasn't really interacted with any females. Um, besides Sonic CD, though, I would always say that Amy's kind of always been a girl boss, but not in like an annoying way, I
Yeah,
guess, if that makes
exactly.
sense.
No, yeah.
She like you said, I think one of the great aspects of her is she's so feminine and girly and like but she does know how to take care of herself and hold her own. But she still has that like almost like a girl that's like into like a boy band. That's her admiration for Sonic, where or like a K-pop band, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, she fawns over Sonic in that way. But yeah, I really love Amy's character, and it's gonna be fun to see. I hope that it's not like a relationship. But I hope that she does have a crush on Sonic.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for Sonic and DC crossing over in 2025. Same. I cannot wait for that. That's very soon too. So look forward to videos on that. I'll be covering every issue here.
Did you see the art for it?
I posted the new one where they're all like running together.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so excited. So I'm wondering because initially we saw they were like in the character suits, you know, but in this new one it was kind of like Sonic was looking how he usually does and not in like a DC suit. So I wonder what they're gonna do with that. If they're just gonna be as is, or if they're gonna get suits later on, or if that suit idea is kind of dropped. Sonic Theory.
Maybe.
Watch Secret History. And something about Amy though. Okay. Well, I'll see if I can find it. What were you gonna say?
No, I was saying maybe it's like another issue where there's like an I guess it's like a compilation of storyline, or is it like one
No,
story?
it's one ongoing story. So are you familiar with Darkseid from DC?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's like, you know, this like huge, like godlike being that's super powerful. He's taken on the Justice League his like himself before. So the plot is Darkseid's coming from his universe into the Sonic universe, which that already makes sense because Darkseid is known to like travel universes. He's so powerful. He's gone into
Yeah.
multiple before. So he's looking for an ultimate power that's within Sonic's universe. Some people have theorized it might be the Master Emerald, could be the Chaos Emeralds, who knows. But anyway, the Justice League is going to follow in hopes to stop him, and that's when our like heroes are going to meet. So they're going to be trying to stop Darkseid together, which I mean, that just sounds so cool.
That's a crazy premise.
Yeah,
I hope we see Neo Metal Sonic in Sonic 4. Well, I think there's a decent chance we will, as we've
yeah.
stated earlier. Oh, Last Ronin with Michelangelo. Yeah. I hope Amy is good in Sonic 4. She's a character I'm mixed on. She's just Sonic's love interest. Yeah, I hope she's like fleshed out. And honestly, I said this to my brother. Like, I think they. I mean, I think they. I don't even like saying this, but like, I think the Sonic Cinematic Universe they write female characters well. I mean, they just know how
Yeah.
to make each character interesting, whether they're a guy or a girl. Like, they just have to be interesting. And I don't think she'll. I think they'll know what they're gonna do with Amy. I don't really doubt like she'll be a really cool character. It's
Yeah,
about time
I
you have a
agree.
girl.
Yeah,
They've all been
I
guys.
yeah, and I mean that just brings such a great dynamic to the cast. And like, how is Knuckles going to react to Amy? How is potentially Shadow going to react? How is Tails going to react? I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun to see this new dynamic now with Amy on board. And you know, is she going to be really close with Maddie? Are they going to have like a good relationship with each other? So I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I care way more about Shadow and Maria's relationship than Gerald and Maria's. That's fine, but to what people are saying is that, you know, Gerald's whole reasoning for being a villain is Maria and his affection towards her. So people just kind of wanted that expanded upon, which makes sense.
They could do a story with Metal Sonic getting revenge on Sonic for beating him in the future. Like Skynet sends one massive plan with sending in a version of himself back in the past. Yeah, I mean, Again, like they are not afraid to make direct references to 80s films. So have Terminator, have Back to the Future. You're gonna have a crazy storyline for the fourth movie.
I like how Eggman looked at his hands after Gerald made the Maria comment. It makes me think Eggman was shocked and or confused on how loving he was, on how loved he was. I think that's what you're trying to say. Yeah, I mean, he was really taken back. I mean, this whole time he was trauma dumping to Sonic, before he met,
That's what he said. He said,
which was
"Bitch,
hilarious.
trauma dumping on you. Where are you?"
He's like, "Where did you go?" Like, well, let me finish trauma dumping. And yeah, so he clearly has a lot of issues, and he was trying to experience what it's like to have family that cares about him. So it hurt him when Gerald basically admitted, "I don't care about you. I'm using you as a means to an end." And
Yeah,
yeah, that was great.
and I remember like Jim Carrey just understands Eggman at such a deep level because one thing that like forms his identity is the lack of love in his life as an orphan. Like he's even made jokes like I'm an orphan.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's like to be have a parent. That's why he uses his intellect uh, as a way to compensate for this lack he has in his life. So, and we see like he pretends like he's all machismo, like, oh, I don't need family. I'm good on my own. But with like his grandpa finally showing him the affection that he's craved for so long, it means a lot to him, and for that to be taken away, that was enough for him to turn back on his grandpa.
yeah. Would you like Jet to appear in the movies? Jet would be
Oh
cool.
yes.
I would hope that his voice isn't so annoying. I
Hey, Sonic!
guess.
I forgot what he was like a parrot. You're like, yeah, man.
I remember before I really got into Sonic, I always liked Jet because I loved the color green,
He looks
and I was
cool,
like, "Man, he looks so cool." And then I heard his voice. I'm like, I don't like how he sounds. I did
dude.
not like how he talks.
The Sonic Riders storyline is insane. Like if they tried adapting that, like they could make that a series where they're just in a
Oh,
racing against each other.
similar to what you said about Rouge being a villain for the Chaotix, the Babylon Rogues would be right up there. I think that would make great villains for them to find because they're thieves. So
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
that would be cool as well. But yeah, those that whole series is insane. I love the Riders games.
And I always liked the way it looked. Like I love this kind of alternate future world that they've
Hover
presented to us.
skateboards. It's so cool.
Yeah, hoverboards. I've always wanted a hoverboard. And then they came out in 2012 and they had wheels and like this is not the same.
Yeah.
It's like this is not the hoverboard we were promised in Back to the Future.
Last year, I was playing Sonic Free Riders, which is on the Connect. Dude, that game made me work up a sweat. I was like over here, in front of my TV. Like, you have to like jump around and do like different tricks on your board, dude. I looked so stupid, but it was so much fun.
That would be a live stream.
Yeah, I should have. I should have.
Like the
I'm
most
a little too introverted to stream myself jumping around like a fool.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I better get a good payoff. You guys better show up, otherwise it'll be so
Exactly.
awkward. Uh, no, yeah, I mean, yeah, Sonic Riders would be so cool. Oh my gosh, I mean, I just think Jet looks so cool in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's just so many things they could just adapt for this world. That they could. I mean, Ben Schwartz says like, I want to make like 10 to 15 Sonic
Yeah.
movies. He basically says like, I want to keep Sonic movies until like I'm dead. So yeah, like this is. I don't think he'll be out of a
As
job.
long as they keep having the heart that they have, which I think is a big part of why you and me love them. I'm keep going, keep pumping them out.
Yeah. Heck, Amy and Sonic Heroes let her own team, which is cute. Yeah, Amy's a leader. And but you know what I mean? Like it's just I guess more popular in franchises where I think people conflate being annoying with strength and they imbue that trait into female characters, and it's like, dude, you're just being annoying. You're not being strong. Like you could be a guy
Captain
acting the
Marvel.
same way. Yeah, Captain Marvel and all that. So, but I don't doubt. I don't think so. I don't think that's gonna be a problem with Amy in this
Yeah.
movie
I
world.
mean,
I, yeah.
they've stayed true to the characters, and if they stay true to Amy, they can perfectly keep her as like a girl boss that's not annoying and that people
Like
like.
like Agent Rockwell, or is that her name? Who's Kristen
Yeah.
Ritt's character?
Yeah, Agent Rockwell.
Like I think she is a strong female character that was done well, and she's a
Yeah.
antagonist. I'm like, I wasn't annoyed by her. I thought she was a cool character.
She was written really well, and maybe that's because I was going in thinking she wasn't going to be in it a lot because of that review. Who did you say it was said it?
Fidel.
Yeah, Fidel. So I wasn't expecting much, even though I had that theory that she was going to be an antagonist. But yeah, I think she really killed that part, and I'm excited to see her in more stuff because the way that she leads Gun is so intimidating that like I want to see more of it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like Sonic will have a crush on Amy first. It feels in character for movie Sonic, but as soon as he expresses her feelings, he gets to shine. Does the runaway thing like the games. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's so occupied with like adventure and having fun. Maybe he'll think like, "Oh, she's kind of cute," but I want Amy to take initiative because that's like in the game.
Yeah,
Like Amy's
it
chasing
has to
after
be
Sonic.
Amy.
Yeah, like Amy has to be the one. Like, "Oh, he's even cuter in person. I only seen pictures of you in my world or whatever."
Yeah, I really hope that Amy's the one that has a crush on Sonic and is kind of like after him.
And I mean, from the post-credit scene, like Amy's pretty strong. Like she took
Yeah,
out
that's why I think it's future Amy. I think she like has been fighting these robots in the future.
so. And I thought, like, with the cloak, that's just the stereotypical, like, I come from a dystopian future. I wear this
Exactly.
cloak. But I, I didn't think that initially because I wasn't aware of the probable connection to the Terminator storyline. Um, I thought, like, oh, is this reminiscent of her being like into uh fortune telling? Like that was my initial thought.
Oh yeah. And that actually could be the case. We're so far out. I just have this crazy idea right now, but you could be right. Maybe she read her fortune cards and knew where Sonic was going to be, or that she needed to be there in that moment. We never know. That could be the case.
I mean, with fortune telling, you could make it in a way tie in with time travel.
Yeah, you could do that too.
So.
Dino Gamer wants to know if we think we'll see Silver in Sonic 4. And yeah, if you rewind a bit, I have a whole big rant. I do think Silver will show up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. Amy with her hammer. I mean,
Yeah.
I just that streak of pink in like a dark background. I was like so caught off guard. I like her design. I'm like, oh, she looks so cute.
Yeah, it was really good.
Imagine, there's that meme, right? Like, imagine if they stuck with the old design, what these characters would look like.
Oh my gosh, imagine Amy in that.
Oh.
Terrifying. Terrifying. What would
That's
Knuckles look like? Because he's not a hedgehog. I want to know what his design would have been.
nightmare fuel, dude. Oh
Nightmare fuel. Ugandan Knuckles.
Yeah. Oh, boom, Amy approach.
I don't know too much about the Boom franchise. Like I've seen a few episodes of Sonic Boom, but it seems pretty funny.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. I've watched clips of it. I'm like, this is really funny. I miss you bragging about being right about metal. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I initially thought it was the Deadly Six based on that tweet, but again, I couldn't confirm because who knows. But yeah,
you might want to check out of this stream, Anti-Demon. This has all been spoiler talk and speculation about the next movie.
is from Mobius, just like Sonic. I like the idea that Metal Sonics are invading other planets to give them the excuse to leave Earth. Yeah, I hope with the fourth movie, as we said earlier, like if they do phase out the human characters more, it will make sense thematically where Sonic grows up and has to save other worlds besides Earth, you know?
Yeah. I think right now I'm thinking Sonic 4 is still gonna be on Earth, but like a future version. Or maybe not even a future version if they're going to the present to save Sonic. Who knows? But I think it's still gonna be on Earth. But past 4, I think you should try to move away from Earth and do other stuff. But play with time travel a bit, that would be fun. Because also, these movies are so goofy and silly that you don't really need to be too smart about how you use time travel. I don't think anyone's gonna analyze it too hard and say, well, this doesn't make sense if you're going back in time here and doing this and that.
Unless it's me.
This is
I'll
random.
analyze it. It's like,
He'll
they did
break
it
it apart.
wrong! Yeah! This is a paradox! What? No, time travel. I mean, they did it in Avengers, and
Yeah.
they went with the alternate timeline theory or whatever. If they don't do anything with it, it'll feel like a waste of time. Yeah, I mean, again, they're probably gonna hint at like, oh, this girl has like. I think it'll be pretty obvious. Like Amy has a crush on Sonic. That's a defining trait of hers. If you remove that,
It
I think
is.
it would be lame. But they don't have
Yeah.
to like make them a couple right away. But just
Yeah.
it's like cute. They're like kids. They're like in middle school, high school. Like it's like what I don't know.
Yeah, Amy's so more so than Sonic. Like, she definitely to stay true to the character, she needs to have a crush on Sonic. I think. Sonic specifically being in a relationship. Yeah, and I don't think they ever have been in a relationship, but like showing that Amy has like affection towards him, I think is fine. How do I see it? Why would other hedgehogs be affected by Earth being invaded? It makes it feel like it. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, we still don't really even know where these other hedgehogs are coming from, I guess. We don't know much about the outside worlds.
Because Tails came from the same world as Sonic, right?
Was it well, we don't know if it was the same world. It could be.
Where did
We don't
Knuckles
know
come
for
from in the
sure.
comic?
Um
Same world as Sonic, right? Because he's of the Echidna tribe. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it would have to be the same
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
In the comics they show him traveling like through a lot of different worlds, which is kind of cool. Like he's on some like mountain that almost looks like straight out of Lord of the Rings. Then he goes to this other world and fights this lizard guy. And then he goes to Casino Night Zone, wherever that world is. And he battles this giant lobster creature. It's insane.
I wonder if
But
they'll call these worlds like zones.
I that would be fun. I hope they do that. Yeah, so we're kind of caught up on chat now. If there's
And we
anything
have
else from the movie you wanna talk about or can think of,
I I
or if
think
you want to end it here, we can end it. We've been going
yeah,
for
we have
almost 3 hours.
yeah, 3 hours, dude. This is longer than a movie. This is you've watched the movie
Yeah,
twice at this point. Uh I can't really I mean just some closing thoughts. I'm very thankful for Jeff Fowler and to the rest of the cast and production crew for I mean, just devoting their time and love and talents into creating what really is a tribute to this character that we all love, and as a way to respect and honor the character's legacy and the fans who like this character means so much to us, and for them to treat it with that level of seriousness and care is something I felt when watching the movie, because there's no denying that this movie is a Sonic movie. It's not just a it's not like the first one where you could put like Roger Rabbit in there or anybody. uh any other character to replace Sonic. Like this is it fully embraces the Sonic identity, and I had a great time watching it with my friends.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It just accepts that it's a Sonic movie and it has fun with that. And I had a blast. I'm going back to see it with my family soon, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, I'm thankful for all the hard work that they put into this film and the love really shown through, the appreciation that they have for this franchise. And I can't wait to see what comes next. Like we've been theorizing for probably like an hour, so you can tell
Yeah.
I'm excited. But yeah, I just want to thank you again, Randy, for joining us and discussing this with me. This has been really fun doing these live streams, and thank you guys all for coming in and watching. If you're not subscribed to Randy's channel, make sure to go over there, subscribe, check out his videos. He has a ton of Sonic videos, and I know you guys would love them. So yeah,
Thanks for
this is
having me, guys. Thanks for having me, Sonic Theory. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, happy holidays, and if we don't stream again, a happy New Year.
yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. If we don't see you guys after this, peace.
Take care, guys.